have a great chance of keeping either house in the 2018 midterm elections, but they certainly have a better chance now that they've passed tax reform. This was this would have been a really tough haul for them next year to really go to the voters empty-handed. It's going to be hard for Republicans to pass much in an election year with a president who has such a low approval rating. Things could obviously change between now and then.
Well,
I do think that they're in a better
the
position
interpretation
now.
was a bit different when you said that the tax bill could still fail. You could almost interpret that differently, in that the expectations, as we were just talking about, are so high right now, especially when you look at the stock market cheering this thing on, that growth better come, the hiring better start, and, businesses better thrive.
I think so, and I think that one sort of pitfall of this is that a lot of what we're seeing in the markets, in the stock markets, are anticipatory. They were anticipating this tax bill getting through. So a lot of the growth that we might expect from this kind of tax bill that Republicans are arguing, some of it we've already seen, and so it may not be, as you pointed out on this program, there are these high expectations. At the same time, if there's been so much reporting that this is going to be such a devastating tax bill, but if you actually look at the numbers, it's expected to benefit a lot of middle-class Americans. And I think if that expectation changes, people see, oh, I do have a lot more money in my pocket now, this bill's poll numbers could improve.
All right, we shall see. Michael Warren, thank you.
Thanks.
Let's move from taxes now to the Senate Intelligence Committee, now getting ready to grill a top Department of Justice official. Bruce Ohr is his name. He'll be behind closed doors this hour. The demoted DOJ official with ties to Fusion GPS, which is the company behind that anti-Trump dossier. Chief Washington correspondent James Rosen watching all this now live in D.C. And James, good morning there.
Good morning, Bill. It was Fox News who brought you the story of Bruce Ohr. Until this month, an Associate Deputy Attorney General of the United States with an office just 4 doors down from Deputy AG Rod Rosenstein at Maine Justice. Ohr lost that job while keeping his other title of Director of DOJ's Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force, as Fox News revealed that Ohr had held secret meetings last year with the author of the anti-Trump dossier, Christopher Steele, a former British spy who used Russian sources to compile the salacious collection of unverified charges against then-candidate Trump. We also disclosed that Ohr had secretly met after the election with Glenn Simpson, the founder of Fusion GPS, the opposition research firm that hired Christopher Steele and bankrolled him with funding from Hillary Clinton and the DNC. Moreover, we reported that Ohr's wife, Nellie Ohr, an academic expert on Russia, worked for Fusion GPS through the summer and fall of 2016.
So what was the role of Bruce Ohr?
Bruce,
he met with Christopher Steele before the election. Was that an authorized meeting?
Congressman, I do not know all the details. This information is still developing, so I don't know the full story, but we've agreed to make Mr. Ohr available for congressional interviews, and they'll be free to ask him those questions.
Ohr's appearance before the Senate Intelligence Committee today follows that of Andrew McCabe before the House Intelligence Committee yesterday. The deputy FBI director endured more than 7.5 hours of interrogation, wrapping up shortly before 10 a.m. as he fielded questions about his roles in the Hillary Clinton email probe and indications that high-level FBI agents met in his office to map out a so-called insurance policy in the event that Donald Trump won the election. Bill.
Thank you, James. James Rosen watching that in Washington. We're watching it from here as well. Thank you, Sarah.
And we will have much more with Jonathan Turley, law professor at George Washington University. He will join us a little bit later in the show to talk about today's testimony from DOJ official Bruce Ohr, as well as yesterday's hearing with FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe.
Yep, a lot going on with that.
There's a lot going on in general.
Yes, Alan Dershowitz is here yesterday arguing, work the refs. There's a credibility issue out there, so we'll see what Turnley thinks about that.
Absolutely.
Today. Also, as we've been mentioning, we're awaiting the final House vote on the tax bill. This amid renewed criticism that Republicans are passing it the same way Democrats passed Obamacare 7 years ago. Is that true? Republican Congressman Sean Duffy reacts to all that, coming up live from the Hill.
And will this be a legacy-defining piece of legislation for President Donald Trump? We will ask former White House Deputy Chief of Staff Karl Rove. Plus, there is this.
3-4, it's going to be in front of Cambridge and Mike. Whoa, 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 whoa!
Yep, hang on. That's a suspect speeding away and an officer holding on for dear life on the body camera on his chest. The story behind that dramatic footage coming up in a moment.
If you're the spouse of a military veteran, I want you to know something. Your spouse has earned the right to apply for a VA home loan. A VA home loan is unique. It's different than other loans because it allows you to borrow up to 100% of the home's value. That extra borrowing power may allow you to pay down debt, lower your monthly payments, put cash in the bank, and give you the peace of mind that every veteran deserves.
Go to newdayusa.com or call 1-844-637-2856. It's a new day for veterans who need money for their family. Home values are going up and home equity lending is back.
That's me.
New Day USA has helped thousands of veterans close in as little as 30 days through their valuable VA home loan.
That's me.
Cash to pay credit cards, cash for retirement, or cash just to put in the bank. It's a new day in lending, and for veterans who need money, that can mean a lot.
That's me.
Call New Day USA at 1-844-637-2856.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA. Every MyPillow is made with passion here in my home state of Minnesota to ensure you get the best sleep of your life.
One of the things that I really like about MyPillow is the support. It gives my neck a little hug.
I've never slept better in my life. What's better than a great night's sleep?
Sleep is one of the most important things to your health, and MyPillow is one of the most important things to your sleep.
Call or go online to order MyPillow Premium, and Mike will give you a second pillow absolutely free. Use the promo code on your screen to get 2 MyPillows for the price of 1. Don't delay. Order now.
I tried every pillow from expensive down pillows that just went flat to fiber-filled pillows that rebound every time you move your head. I even tried those memory foam pillows, and the curve did not match my neck, and it probably won't match yours. That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night, and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
MyPillow lasts 10 years, is machine washable and dryable, and comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee.
I personally guarantee MyPillow will be the most comfortable pillow you'll ever own or your money back.
Call or go online to order MyPillow Premium, and Mike will give you a second pillow absolutely free. Use the promo code on your screen to get 2 MyPillows for the price of 1. Don't delay. Order now.
With our 60-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose. Sleep well, America!
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Sure, it's his gift, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy it too. Now at Men's Warehouse, take 60% off sweaters and coats, plus 60% off designer suits. You're gonna like the way he looks.
BP is taking safety glasses to a whole new level, using augmented reality so engineers in the field can share data and get expert backup in the blink of an eye. Because safety is never being satisfied and always working to be better.
As we have been telling you, we are awaiting a final House vote on tax reform. This morning, the GOP is already celebrating a hard-fought victory, though. But critics say this bill could become a political liability, with some even calling it the Republican Obamacare. Dana Milbank writes in the Washington Post, quote, "Now Republicans are making impossibly high promises. And if anything goes wrong, if the economy doesn't boom, wages don't soar and the middle class doesn't rebound, it will be the fault of this legislation, soon to be labeled the Trump tax by Democrats." Wisconsin Congressman Sean Duffy joins us now live to react to that. What do you think?
Sandra, these are the same kind of people who were, when Donald Trump was elected, saying the stock market's going to go down and the economy is going to crash. They're absolutely wrong. When they want to compare it to Obamacare, Obamacare was a government takeover of health care. They promised that your premiums in health care would go down and you could keep your doctor. Those things didn't come to pass. Your premiums actually went up and you weren't able to keep your doctor. Tax reform is far simpler. What we're saying is American families and American business get to keep more of their own money. We know that they spend their money better than government. And we know when we let people spend their money, invest their money, be creative with their money, our economy actually grows. And we know when we have government spend people's money, it shrinks. So this is pretty common sense stuff. We're staking our future that
Congressman,
Americans
how do you
are gonna be happy
respond
with
this
more
morning
cash.
to Democrats who are saying, well, first of all, they're pointing to just this revision process alone and the flaws there that resulted in the revised bill having to go back to have another vote in the House this morning, which we're waiting on, as evidence and proof that Republicans are just moving too fast with this.
Listen, this bill has been out of the House version for over a month. We had a 4-day hearing in Ways and Means and went through the committee process. People have been able to comment on it, bash it, love it, but this has been an open process. What happened in the Senate is Democrats attacked some small colleges that have a trust fund that give Appalachia kids who've never gone to school, college, and their families, they gave them free tuition, and that's what Democrats attacked to make us now come back to the House. So this isn't moving too fast. This was a procedural play by Democrats. We're happy with the process. Everyone has been chirping and commenting about what we're doing, which is far different than what Nancy Pelosi had to say is pass Obamacare so you can find out what's in it.
Obviously,
open, transparent committee process.
Obviously, if this results in the kind of growth that your party is projecting, Democrats could live to regret not coming around and supporting this. But for now, they're not warming up to this bill. Listen to Chuck Schumer.
145 million middle-class families earning under $200,000 will get either tax hikes or a tax cut of less than $100. 83% of the middle class will either pay more in taxes or get little but crumbs. Is that what you intended?
I mean, it hasn't been popular, Congressman.
So 2 points. Number one, we've increased the standard deduction for a family from $12,000 to $24,000, which means that first $24,000 of income is tax-free. If you have kids, you get a $2,000 refundable tax credit for every child that you have. This is great stuff. In every tax bracket, they go down. Chuck Schumer's not being honest. What you see happening, though, is liberals from progressive states and progressive cities. Think of L.A. and San Francisco and New York and Boston. They might pay a little bit more. The really wealthy people that are progressive in those communities, they might pay some more. And I think Democrats are upset that we have some loopholes that have gone away for Democrats that are wealthy. And they're complaining and trying to say this is tax breaks for the rich, but really this is tax breaks for middle-income Americans. Well, and by the way, Sandra, that we're going to actually make American business competitive again with a 21% corporate tax rate. This is great for families and economic growth and actually revenue to the federal coffers to help pay for some of the priorities that Democrats have. Even.
Well, and we'll see as we start to hear from more businesses and CEOs that weren't really vocal in supporting this leading up to it. But FedEx, after the passage last night, came out and said, hey, we're revising our earnings forecast up. We're going to be hiring more as a result of this tax bill. So we'll see where things go, Congressman, on a busy day for you. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, thank you, Sandra. Have a good one. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
As we wait now, movement on tax reform, Sarah Sanders argues the president has delivered in his first year.
The president has delivered on promise after promise, issue after issue, time after time, and we're just getting started.
That is not all she said. She had a big list, but is she right? A closer look at that coming up in a moment here. Also.
Plus, Robert Mueller's investigation remains under scrutiny over claims of bias. Republicans seeking answers as to how documents from the Trump transition team landed in his hands.
He's not playing this effectively. He's being sloppy. When you're going after the President of the United States, you make sure your personnel are not overtly biased against the target.
What if overvalued stocks crash again? What would that mean to your retirement?
I believe I'll probably be working till past retirement.
If we have another correction like we did, it could be a pretty ugly situation.
We don't know where the bubble's going to be. There's so much uncertainty in the market.
It's scary and volatile. The truth is, our country's debt and financial bubbles goes much deeper than any politician can solve. But for the smart investor, there are still options.
If you are concerned about our U.S. debt and financial bubbles, call today for a free copy of financial expert Chris Martinson's exclusive report, The Mother of All Bubbles 2018. See why concerned investors are turning to precious metals for protection and growth. The report is free with no obligation, so call now and ask how you can also qualify for up to a $2,000 bonus when you roll over a portion of your IRA or 401k into a Lear Capital Precious Metals IRA. Call 1-800-914-3030. 1-800-914-3030.
Morning on the beach was so peaceful. Until it wasn't. Don't let type 2 diabetes get between you and your heart, because your risk of heart attack or stroke is up to 4 times greater. But there are steps you can take to lower your cardiovascular risk. Talk to your healthcare provider today about diabetic heart disease. And find out more at heartoftype2.com. Your heart and type 2 diabetes. Make the connection.
Looking for a hotel that fits your budget? TripAdvisor now searches over 200 sites to find you the hotel you want at the lowest price. Grazie, Gino. Find a price that fits. TripAdvisor.
If you've been turned down for a mortgage because of credit or tax return issues, Cash Call Mortgage now has credit and income-solving mortgages with no closing costs. Just call 855-890-CASH and we'll work with you to find a solution to your mortgage issues.
Tonight, what a Navy pilot saw. From his UFO sighting to a mystery at the Pentagon. He reveals the out-of-this-world details. Next, Tucker Carlson Tonight.
Hi, I'm Joan London with A Place for Mom. Every day we hear from families who partnered with a senior living advisor from A Place for Mom to help find the perfect place for their mom or dad.
Thank you so much for your assistance in helping us find a place. Mom feels safe and comfortable and has met many wonderful residents and staffers.
Thank you for helping our family find our father a new home. We especially appreciate the information about the VA Aid and Attendance Program.
I feel I found the right place, a perfect fit. You were my angel and helped guide me every step of the way. Thank you.
The senior living advisors at A Place for Mom partner with thousands of families every month, listening and offering local knowledge and advice to help find the best senior living communities across the country. And it won't cost you a cent. This is a free service. Call today. A Place for Mom. You know your family. We know senior living. Together, we'll make the right choice.
So the White House arguing the tax bill will cap what has already been a productive year. And as she stepped to the microphone yesterday, Sarah Sanders, well, here is just part of the list that she ticked off.
As December winds down, I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to look back at what has been, by any measure, a historic year. Nearly 1.7 million new jobs have been created, and the unemployment rate has fallen to 4.1%, the lowest rate in 17 years. The stock market reached a record high more than 60 times and closed above 24,000 for the first time in history. The president has protected America's communities. We've seen the lowest level of illegal border crossings on record. We ended the Obama administration's dangerous catch and release policies, restoring law and order both on the border and in the interior. And we've designed and built 8 wall prototypes for the border wall. And we promoted peace through strength. Under the president's leadership, ISIS has lost nearly all of its territory and its most important strongholds in Iraq and Syria. And this evening, hopefully upon passage of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the president will have delivered the most significant tax cut in the history of the nation and repealed the Obamacare individual mandate. The president has delivered on promise after promise, issue after issue, time after time, and we're just getting started.
So there was the case laid out yesterday. Guy Benson today, political editor, townhall.com, and a Fox News contributor. Guy, how are you? Good morning and a Merry
Christmas, Bill.
The defeat of that caliphate, at least in a physical sense, is substantial, and it happened quickly. Do you, of that list that we just heard, is there a top 2 for you?
Sure. Well, you can't ignore ISIS. You're right about that. I think deregulation has been a big part of this as well. But for me, it comes down to 2 major issues, at least from the perspective of a conservative. One is judges. We got the Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch confirmed to replace Justice Scalia, who passed away last year. That was a massive accomplishment by Trump and the Senate Republicans. And since then, A dozen circuit court judges have been confirmed as well, with Trump setting a record pace on confirmations of judges at that level. And those are very influential folks who will serve probably for decades and shape American jurisprudence. So that's a lasting legacy. And then there's no way of getting around the fact that this tax bill that's going to pass finally officially in the House today and be signed shortly thereafter by the president is an enormous win for Republicans, for conservative policy goals, not just on taxes across multiple fronts, but on Obamacare, on drilling for oil in Anwar. This accomplishes a lot of things and checks a lot of boxes that many Republicans have sought for years.
I think that last point should not be overlooked. Buried in this bill, not buried, I should say, but overlooked, I would say, is drilling in Alaska. We've debated this for decades. And, you know, repealing the mandate,
huge.
The penalty is a really big deal as well, Guy.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. You know, Republicans' main legal argument against Obamacare forever was the individual mandate. And it looked like it was going to go down at the Supreme Court, with the government forcing every American to purchase a product, in many cases a product that people felt like they didn't need or couldn't afford or didn't want. And it was upheld by one vote as a tax. Here's a tax bill repealing it that got every single Republican vote in the Senate and is going to get probably around 227 again in the House. And, you know, just a moment ago, Bill, you were playing the sound bites from Chuck Schumer. The degree of distortion and dishonesty coming from the left and from the Democrats about this bill. I'm not here to tell you it's a perfect bill. I would have done certain things differently. I have concerns about deficits and so on. But they've painted this as a giveaway to the rich when, in fact, 80% of all Americans get a tax cut under this plan. And telling the middle class that they're getting a tax hike or they're getting nothing over and over again has driven down the popularity of the bill. But come next year, people are going to see their paychecks and look at the withholding from their paychecks and recognize, just in black and white, they have been lied to from people who had a partisan agenda, who do not want to tell the truth about the bill.
Well, there's a lot of people in the Northeast who are paid well, and the cost of living is high. And they're going to pay more under this plan, and they've been talking about that in this part of the country for a long time now. In the new year, Guy, what is the priority?
Well, the first priority is, I think, probably getting the government kept open and doing the CHIP bill and making sure that gets reauthorized.
Yeah. Well, what about DACA? What about immigration? Is that next on the list?
Yeah. I mean, it should be one of the things on the list. The president set a deadline. That deadline is coming up. There's a lot of people who are in an uncertain circumstance because of that. I also wonder if the president's going to want to push the party to do a 1-2 punch, not just on tax reform first, but then that infrastructure bill we've talked about for a very long time, which might get more bipartisan support.
All right, Guy, thank you. Merry Christmas again there in Florida. Guy Benson.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, sir. See you real soon. Here's Sandra.
Taxes is the talk of the town today. So will this plan be a legacy-defining event for his presidency? Karl Rove joins us with his reaction, plus this.
3-4, it's going to be in front of Cambridge and Mike. Whoa, 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 whoa!
Yep, that's a police officer being dragged down the street alongside that car. How this ended up in a moment here. Stay tuned.
People would stare. Psoriasis does that.
It was tough getting out there on stage.
I wanted to be clear. I wanted it to last.
So I kept on fighting.
I found something that worked and keeps on working.
Now, they see me.
See me.
See if Cosentyx could make a difference for you. Cosentyx is proven to help people with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis find clear skin that can last. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting Cosentyx, you should be checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, or if you've received a vaccine or plan to. If you have inflammatory bowel disease, tell your doctor if symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions may occur.
Never give up.
See me.
See me.
Clear skin can last.
Don't hold back. Ask your dermatologist if Cosentyx can help you find clear skin that lasts.
The odds are staggering.
It's suicide.
The plan is daring.
Wait on your command. Initiate.
Rolling Stone Rave's Darkest Hour is one of the best pictures of the year.
We shall never surrender!
Rated PG-13.
Joseph A. Bank's Last Dash gift sale. Save up to 70% store-wide. Leather jackets, $199. All dress shirts, 2 for $89. And all wool sweaters, $49. The Last Dash gift sale. Only at Joseph A. Bank.
Excuse me a minute. Hi, Dad. No, don't try to get up.
Hi, I'm Julie, a right-at-home caregiver. And if I'd been caring for Tom's dad, I would have noticed some dizziness that could lead to balance issues. That's because I'm trained to report any changes in behavior, no matter how small. So Tom could have peace of mind.
We'll be right there. We have to go.
Hey, Tom, you should try Right at Home. They're great for us.
The right care, right at home.
If you're looking for the perfect holiday gift for someone special to you, give a gift that will be truly appreciated. The Omaha Steaks Deluxe Gift Package. It's filled with $224 worth of great food for just $59.99. That's 73% off, only on this special holiday offer. The people on your nice list will receive 4 tender mouth-watering filet mignons, 4 extra thick boneless pork chops, 12 premium all-beef meatballs, and everyone's favorite, 4 classic juicy Omaha Steaks burgers, 4 chicken fried steaks, and 4 caramel apple tartlets. Your order will be delivered straight to your home or the destination of your choice, so you can give this wonderful gift to anybody on your holiday list. As a special holiday gift from us to you, if you order right now, we'll include 4 additional Omaha Steaks burgers free. That's 8 total. You get it all. Omaha Steaks Deluxe Gift Package, a $224 value for just $59.99. Give everyone a gift they can appreciate. Give them the Deluxe Gift Package from Omaha Steaks today.
President Trump looking ahead as the House gets ready for a final vote on the tax bill. The president holding a cabinet meeting next hour to discuss priorities following likely passage of his tax cut plan. And topping the agenda, Kevin Corke reporting earlier, entitlement reform and rebuilding our nation's infrastructure. We'll be keeping an eye on the House and bring you that vote when it happens.
As we await Sandra now, historic tax reform could become a defining event of this president's administration. Karl Rove, former Deputy White House Chief of Staff to President George W. Bush, Fox News contributor there in sunny Austin, Texas. How are you, Karl? Good day to you.
Good day to you, Bill Hammer.
You, more than most, have studied this bill to death. Is it a good bill?
Yes, it's not perfect, but I think it's a good bill and in most respects a distinct improvement upon our current tax system, particularly for people who are going to find it much easier to file their taxes, and because of the doubling of the standard deduction and the nearly doubling of the child tax credit, they're going to find that their circumstances are much better off.
Okay, very interesting. I think the ultimate arbiter is what the economy does. That will determine whether it's a good bill or not. Have you given much thought? You know, the blue states, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Illinois, California, they're going to be paying more, and a lot of people in those states will be paying more. Have you considered the possibility of these local governments in these cities and states actually changing their tax policy when they start to see the pressure on behalf of those that live there? Do you think that's real?
Well, let's step back for a minute.
Do you think that's real, or is that imagined?
Oh, I think it's real. I think look, for a long time, the people in these high tax states, particularly wealthy people, were being, in essence, subsidized. Think about this. We have a person who's working, on a road crew in Texas is paying tax money in order to subsidize somebody who lives on the Upper East Side of Manhattan and works in the financial services industry and makes a lot more money than they do, because one of them gets a tax advantage in writing off his high state income taxes, and the person in Texas has no similar deduction. So the fact of neutrality is going to mean that there's a little bit more fairness in the system. And yes, there's going to be some incentives. If you're the city of New York, it's not going to be so easy to say, oh, we're going to raise your income taxes. And remember, you get to write that off. So you really only, for every dollar we charge you, you're going to be able to write off 55 cents of it, or 50 cents of it, or 45 cents of it off on your income taxes. It's going to remove the incentive for states, high tax states, to keep raising their taxes. I would still argue you
should have given these people a runway, 12 months, 24 months, give them a chance to change their own behavior or policy. I think that would have been fair.
Right.
However, that is not true that's not the case as of today. I wonder why the polling is so poor on this. And I asked Newt Gingrich about that last hour. Give this a listen, Carl.
You had 6 months, the New York Times, the Washington Post, CBS News, NBC News, ABC News, all lying about it. I mean, if the only thing you heard was left-wing and diatribes, you're not going to believe it either.
Do you agree with that? Why has this been so poorly received thus far?
Well, I think that's half of it, or maybe a little bit less than half of it. I think the other part of it is the White House, with all due respect, has done a lousy job of laying the predicate for this. Remember, in 2001, the Bush tax cuts got passed with a quarter of the Democrats voting for it, and it was about a 55-35 favorable, unfavorable for the tax reform, and that's because Bush had spent essentially 5 months from the time of his inaugural in January systematically laying out methodically the case for the tax cuts. And we've only seen this president attack the issue episodically, and I think, frankly, not in a very effective manner in most instances. There have been 1 or 2 moments where he's done a good job of explaining it or highlighting it, but this is the kind of thing that if you want to bring public opinion with you, you have to bring public opinion with you patiently, consistently, and persistently, and he is not. And then the final complicating factor is that the president has thrown a bunch of controversies out there that have distracted attention from the substantive things that he's doing and focused on his personal behavior. It's amazing to me, his policies are far more popular than he is, particularly if you take his name off those policies. So I think from going forward, the president needs to think about this as he approaches the 2018 midterm elections and how he can have an effect about it. In fact, I'm writing about it for the Wall Street Journal tomorrow.
I can't wait to read that. One more point here. They're drilling in Alaska, Carl. We've debated this thing for decades. That's in this bill. They're going to remove the mandate in Obamacare. What is the ultimate effect of both of that?
I think both positive. And again, back to Newt Gingrich's point. In fact, even on Fox News yesterday, I listened to a Fox reporter say, "Well, this removing the individual mandate will cause 13 million people to lose their health insurance." Wrong. Removing the mandate causes 13 million people to say, you know what, I got better uses for my money than paying the penalty, going out and buying insurance that doesn't meet my needs and breaks my bank in lieu of paying a penalty to the government if I don't do that. We will have more people with insurance tomorrow and more people with insurance in a year from now. There are not going to be 13 million people who are going to lose their coverage. And even the Congressional Budget Office says that in its report on it. It says 13 million people will not buy insurance in the future that might otherwise been forced to buy it. So, yeah, got to do a better job of communicating it. But, yes, big improvements on both healthcare and on energy, and Alaska is going to grow again as a result of this effort to open up a very small part of this gigantic piece of land that we call the ANWR.
Right. And there are no people there. There are no tourists, and frankly, there are very few animals.
Right. Well, there are a lot of caribou, but what we know from the experience of drilling in Alaska is drilling in Alaska does not affect the caribou population.
Thank you, Carl. Merry Christmas to you.
You bet. Merry Christmas to you.
You bet. Thank you. In Austin. Sandra.
Dramatic body cam video showing the moment a Florida officer was dragged by a car. Watch this.
3-4, it's going to be in front of Cambridge and Mike. Whoa, 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 whoa!
Some chilling footage there. The officer is trying to get to check on the driver, apparently after getting a call about a possible overdose when the man just takes off on him. The officer holds on for dear life as the car, as you can clearly see, speeds away. He suffers road rash over much of his body when he finally lets go. Wow. But he is expected to be okay, we're told. The driver leading officers on a police chase using heroin along the way. They finally caught him, Bill, and he's now facing a charge of attempted murder of a police officer.
I wonder how often that happens, and we see it now because of that body camera.
And if road rash is the worst he's suffering this morning, my goodness.
Very true. In the meantime here, top DOJ official about to testify now before that Senate Intelligence Committee. He will face plenty of questions about undisclosed meetings with Fusion GPS officials. So then what does this interview do to cause a bias at the Justice Department? We'll get an answer on that coming up.
Plus, several legal scholars saying Robert Mueller may have a credibility problem as we learn more about top FBI agent, the agent pulled from his investigation. We'll ask law professor Jonathan Turley about all of that next.
Looking forward to that interview. Also, a Christmas tree that that only Charlie Brown could love.
Oh.
A lot of folks are seeking answers in one very...
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, Bill.
I see. All right. Merry Christmas.
When our country used to flex its muscle with battleships like the USS Iowa, the world would listen. It's time we return to the America I remember. Hi, I'm William Devane. There are dangerous forces everywhere pulling our country apart, threatening our economy and our way of life. That's why I'm going to do two things: support our military and buy gold from Roslyn Capital. I've never felt safe relying on paper money to protect my assets. That's why I buy gold from Roslyn. With Roslyn, what you order is what you get. No gimmicks, no nonsense, no hassle. We're all safer with our ships patrolling the seas. And my assets are a whole lot safer with gold from Roslyn Capital. So ask yourself, are you safe?
Call now to get your free gold, silver, and IRA kits. Call 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900.
What makes this simple salad the best simple salad ever? Heart-healthy California walnuts. The best simple pasta ever? California walnuts. The best simple dinner ever? Great tasting, heart-healthy California walnuts. So simple, so good. Get the recipes at walnuts.org.
If your moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's symptoms are holding you back, and your current treatment hasn't worked well enough, it may be time for a change. Ask your doctor about Entyvio, the only biologic developed and approved just for UC and Crohn's. Entyvio works at the site of inflammation in the GI tract and is clinically proven to help many patients achieve both symptom relief and remission. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. PML, a rare, serious, potentially fatal brain infection caused by a virus, may be possible. This condition has not been reported with Entyvio. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, experience frequent infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Liver problems can occur with Entyvio. If your UC or Crohn's treatment isn't working for you, ask your gastroenterologist about Entyvio. Entyvio, relief and remission within reach.
Liberty Mutual saved us almost $800 when we switched our auto and home insurance.
With Liberty, we could afford a real babysitter instead of your brother. Oh, that's my robe.
Is it?
When you switch to Liberty Mutual, you could save $782 on auto and home insurance and still get great coverage for you and your family. Call 1-844-252-1806 for a free quote today. You could save $782 when Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
So a Christmas tree in Rome, not really inspiring the holiday spirit. 65-foot tree from the Italian Alps featured in one of the city's main squares. Here's the issue. The tree is shedding its needles. Locals call it baldy. Locals call it the world's saddest Christmas tree. It costs $50,000 to get it to Rome, and officials say they don't plan to take it down, but they're investigating why it's falling apart. I just one suggestion.
My goodness.
Give the thing some water.
Give the thing some lights, some decorations.
Start with some water. There, Rome. Good luck to these
Rome is a beautiful city, sure. All right, well, the Senate Intelligence Committee turning the focus of their Russia investigation to a demoted Justice Department official. The panel today interviewing Bruce Orr following the revelation of undisclosed meetings between him and Fusion GPS officials. It also follows a marathon hearing yesterday for FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe before the House Intelligence Committee. Jonathan Turley is a law professor for George Washington University, and he joins me now. Professor, you look back at this 8-hour grilling session for Andrew McCabe yesterday, and you wonder, did they learn anything? Did they get anything out of him?
I think they had to learn something in the sense that they've been trying for weeks to get this chance to ask some of these questions to McCabe. The Department of Justice has largely been uncooperative with some of these inquiries, and there was a threat of contempt sanctions if these people did not appear. So you had members who've been chomping at the bit to ask some questions. And McCabe is involved in a lot of controversies, and I think that at best there was a showing of poor judgment. And I think what they want to find out is that if there's something more, whether there's actual political influence in decision making.
You look back at those text messages that were exchanged, and Bob Goodlatte suggested it shows a plan to take action to make sure that Donald Trump did not get elected president of the United States at the highest level of the FBI. Trey Gowdy this week suggested that he may no longer even be an FBI employee by this time next week.
Yeah, I would find that doubtful, but I certainly don't believe that the evidence that it exists now would justify the termination of McCabe. But we don't know what the answers to these questions are. The meaning of that message has really perplexed many people. What is meant by that plan or that discussion? It's assumed that he is indeed the Andy referenced in that message. All of that, I expect, it was likely confirmed or denied yesterday. And so the question is going to be now where we go from here. But that's what makes the Orr interview itself very interesting. The FBI as an institution resists this degree of transparency. A part of it's for good reason. They're a law enforcement agency, but part of it's also cultural. They don't like answering questions in front of Congress, but they have to. Congress has a legitimate oversight interest in the answers to these questions.
And of course, the Bruce Orr, he's going to be grilled today. And as you point out, he's the DOJ official demoted after those revelations about those undisclosed meetings with Fusion GPS, which was the firm behind the anti-Trump dossier, and the revelation that Orr's wife also was paid by that same firm. And you know, when you look at the revelations of all of this, Professor, and the American people, rightly so, are asking questions. Can we trust this Mueller probe? Is there an anti-Trump bias inside of our FBI? And I just wonder, where do you stand on the Mueller probe as a whole today?
Well, you know, I opposed the appointment of a special counsel until James Comey was fired. And at that point, there was, in my view, merit to appointing someone for an independent investigation. I said then, and I've said throughout this process, that I don't see evidence of a crime committed by President Trump or whatever collusion may mean. It didn't seem to amount to a crime thus far. But there is a value to an independent investigation. I also felt Mueller was the bad choice. You know, he had a close relationship with Comey. He also interviewed for Comey's job. And I'm still astonished that he was even on the list of a special counsel. Now, having said all that, he's going to finish this job. It would be a huge mistake to terminate Robert Mueller. It would make the situation much worse. And I'm going to trust him to do a fair job. I've been a critic of his, but you know, he knows that history will be his judge, and so will the rest of us.
And the president has said he has no intention to fire him.
That's
but
right.
I just want to share with you. Alan Dershowitz talking about how he would handle this if he was on the Trump legal team. Listen.
I would keep the pressure on Mueller. Mueller is very concerned about his reputation. He has been accused of conflict of interest, of not getting warrants, of using an improper source for a warrant. They have him where they want him. He'll probably want to lean over backwards now to make any close calls in favor of Trump's.
Professor, is that something you agree with? They've got him where they want him?
Well, I agree with Alan on many of those controversies. I think that there have been a lot of misplays by Mueller. I think this guy is fairly insulated. This is going to be probably his final major public role, and certainly his most important one in history. I think that is going to keep him between the lines. And I expect in the end he'll do a fair job. At least I hope he does.
Professor Turley, thank you for coming on with us this morning. Good to see you.
More than 6 million Americans are going to be flying between Christmas and New Year's Eve. Some of those folks may be forced to drive next time as airlines face what's called a looming crisis. What's that about?
Oh, there's no place like home for the holidays, 'cause no matter how...
Merry Christmas.
Why are there so many miles on it? For great offers, visit your local Jaguar retailer during the Unwrap a Jaguar sales event.
Looking for balance in your digestive system? Try Align Probiotic. For a non-stop, sweet treat goodness, hold on to your Tiara kind of day. Get 24/7 digestive support with Align, the #1 doctor-recommended probiotic brand. Also in kids' chewables.
Looking for a hotel that fits your budget? TripAdvisor now searches over 200 sites to find you the hotel you want at the lowest price. Grazie, Gino. Find a price that fits. TripAdvisor.
Vice President Pence, an exclusive interview, the historic tax vote, his first year in office, and the administration's fight for the future. Laura's exclusive tonight on the Ingram Angle.
Are you prepared?
I'm prepared. I'm always prepared. I was born prepared.
Part of being prepared in life is planning for your family after you're gone.
I don't want my son to have any kind of worries when I'm gone.
My mom didn't have life insurance and the cost all fell on me. And that's expensive. We're still paying for that.
Yeah, we're still paying for that.
Guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you are gone. Even if you have health concerns or a limited budget, guaranteed acceptance life insurance policies can work for you. In fact, TrueStage policies are already protecting over 17 million Americans.
I don't want them to have to use credit cards like I did for my mother.
With coverage amounts up to $25,000, TrueStage can help free your family from things like funeral costs, medical bills, and credit card debt.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
Well, life insurance is important because you never know what might come up, and you need to be prepared for that.
And with no medical tests or health questions, you cannot be turned down for any reason. Call now for a free no-obligation quote. Any amount of coverage can help, and you are guaranteed to be accepted. It only takes one phone call, and you can get coverage today starting at $9.40 a month. Plus, your rates will never increase, and your coverage will never decrease. Call 1-800-813-6324 now for a free no-obligation quote. It's affordable coverage that can be easy to get in a single phone call. And your policy can begin immediately with rates starting at $9.40 a month.
When I leave, everything will be taken care of for them.
Call now to help protect your family from financial debt after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage. Call 1-800-813-6324 now.
6 minutes away on Happening Now, President Trump's first major legislative victory at hand. With the House poised to vote on final passage of the tax bill, we will bring that to you live. Plus, disturbing new details about the train derailment in Washington state. Did a distraction contribute to this deadly crash? And a massive Southern California wildfire, now the second largest in state history. How far will the Thomas fire spread before crews can finally get it under control? Top of the hour.
John, thank you. As we head into one of the busier travel days of the year, airlines are trying to head off a looming pilot shortage. At the Denver International Airport, Lisa Cunha reports there on how airlines are getting creative on this. What are they doing, Alicia?
Hi, Bill. Well, some carriers are actually having to go back to college. We went to Metro State University, Denver's worldwide indoor airport, where the flight school says the airlines are building what amount to farm teams, recruiting before these students even hit the job market.
What's being done today versus what was done 10 years ago is the regional carriers have started to enter in agreements with collegiate aviation programs and entice students to come on board during their academic career.
According to Boeing, in the next 2 decades, the industry will need 117,000 new commercial pilots in North America and 637,000 worldwide. In order to retain pilots, regional airlines have been forced to increase pay and offer signing bonuses, and the major carriers are starting to compete for those flight school grads as well. We talked to one graduate starting an internship with United. If all goes well, he will never leave, straight to the big leagues. How did we get here? Some blame Congress for increasing reducing the number of required flying hours from 250 to 1,500 after 2009 crash in Buffalo, which the NTSB said was caused in part by pilot inexperience. However, Bill, the pilots union says there is no shortage. They say the airlines got themselves into this situation because of low pay and poor conditions. Bill?
Lisa Cunha, thanks. Live at Denver. Thanks, Sandra.
President Trump expecting an early Christmas as the House takes a final step to approve his tax cut plan. All this as we're getting breaking news on a plan to fund the government.
This is not a cloud. This is a car protected from storms by an insurance company that knows the weather down to the square block. This is a diamond tracked on a blockchain protected against fraud, theft, and trafficking. This is a financial transaction secure from hacks and threats others can't see. This is a patient's medical history made secure while still available to their doctor at their fingertips. This is an asteroid live streamed to millions of viewers from 220 miles above Earth. This is AI trained by experts in 20 industries, your industry.
Hello.
This is not the cloud you know. This is the IBM cloud. Designed for your data, AI ready, secure to the core. The IBM cloud is the cloud for business. Yours.
It's resourceful, elusive, shrewd. Cancer is smart. It pushes us. We push back. We even push each other to challenge conventional thinking, find smarter solutions. That's what makes us one of the leaders in precision cancer treatment, forging ahead with technology that wasn't available to cancer patients just a short time ago, like advanced genomic testing, a diagnostic tool that lets us see cancer at the molecular level, then helps us find different ways to target it, and immunotherapy, a treatment that actually makes your immune system smarter, trains it to attack the cancer in your body. This is what we live for, giving our patients compassionate care by offering them more precise and less invasive treatment options than before. That's what makes us Cancer Treatment Centers of America. We're not just fighting cancer anymore, we're outsmarting it. The evolution of cancer care is here.
Do you have a life insurance policy you no longer need or can't afford? Now you can sell your policy for an immediate payment.
We bought life insurance when our kids were young, to protect their future.
Our youngest just turned 40, and we no longer needed the coverage.
That got us to thinking about letting our policy go. So I did some research and called Coventry Direct. I learned that you could sell all or part of a life insurance policy, even a term life policy. Turns out, people have been selling policies like ours for the past 15 years. Who knew? We sold our policy. Now we have money to help with the medical bills.
And to add to our retirement.
If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may be a candidate to sell your policy. Call 1-800-471-6800 or visit CoventryDirect.com for a free information packet. 1-800-471-6800. Coventry Direct, redefining insurance.
You in the Christmas spirit or what?
A little bit. The Christmas chaos spirit.
Enjoy it a little bit, too.
Eventually, right? When it starts to simmer.
All right.
Hey,
great week.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too, Bill.
I'm grateful that you're here with us.
Oh, thank you.
And Happy New Year.
Thank you. So gracious. And thanks to all of you for being here as well.
Yes, indeed. Bye-bye.
A Fox News alert and a live update on that deadly Amtrak train derailment of 2 days ago. This in DuPont, Washington. We are getting ready to hear from the State Secretary of Transportation, a news conference to begin momentarily. That's what the empty microphone is there. And they have done a spectacular job of getting ready to reopen I-5. Right now, the southbound lanes remain closed. They're getting ready to remove a locomotive, obviously the heavy lifting portion of this. Once they get that done, they'll bring in some highway people to fix the guardrails and patch whatever asphalt they need to patch. And then they will reopen the southbound lanes of I-5. That locomotive is scheduled to be loaded up today and driven off. They have found that the bridge itself from which those train cars fell is structurally sound. They hope to have Interstate 5 opened later today. And this Fox News alert as President Trump is on the verge of his biggest legislative victory to date, with the House set to take a final vote on the GOP tax bill. Should happen any minute now. Good morning to you. I'm John Scott.
And I'm Heather Childers, but anything could happen.
Well, yeah,
as
it's
was
Washington
proven yesterday. We're live on Capitol Hill, awaiting action on the House floor after the Senate narrowly passed the most sweeping tax overhaul in decades. They voted along party lines as expected, but it was tweaked. The version that was passed in the House was tweaked to satisfy procedural rules, which is why House lawmakers will now take a final vote on the bill that includes a $1.5 trillion tax cut, one that House Speaker Paul Ryan says will help hardworking families.
All tax rates go down. The top rate and every rate in between are lowered. So you get lower rates across the board. Number two, we double the standard deduction. That means you go to you can see our postcard. I like to bring this thing up. Still, nearly 9 out of 10 people in America will be able to do their taxes on the form the size of a postcard.
We have live Team Fox coverage with Chief White House correspondent John Roberts, but we start with Peter Doocy. He's on Capitol Hill. Peter?
John, there was very loud applause on the right side of the room very early this morning when the Vice President Mike Pence, who was presiding over the Senate, announced that the upper chamber had passed this tax reform package without any Democratic support. And just in case any constituents were sleeping while this happened, Republicans are trying to remind constituents what happened.
We did come to Washington to grow the economy, to give people more freedom. And Nancy Pelosi and folks like her come to Washington to grow the government. I mean, that is fundamentally the difference.
But Democrats are still smarting that the GOP never really tried to collaborate with them on the tax package, and they're trying to shine a spotlight on parliamentary problems that slowed the majority down. The whole reason the House has to vote again today is because Senators Bernie Sanders and Ron Wyden complained that certain education provisions broke budget rules, and the name of the bill didn't comply either. So once those things were stripped out, the Senate ended up voting on a different bill than the House. And House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi says, quote, "The House revote is the latest evidence of just how shoddily written the GOP tax scam really is. The wealthy and well-connected will be exploiting the hidden loopholes and giveaways in the GOP tax scam for years to come." We think that we are about an hour away from the House doing this revote, and then, assuming that it passes again, like yesterday, they can start this funding fight over how to keep the government open and avoid a shutdown this weekend. One sticking point had been DACA, but Senator Jeff Flake tweeted very early this morning that that is going to be addressed in January. Back to you.
All right, Peter Doocy keeping an eye on all of the drama on Capitol Hill. Thank you, Peter.
And, of course, the White House is now reacting to the big developments on tax reform as we await, as we've told you, that House revote on the final bill, which cleared the Senate overnight. It is expected to pass easily, sending it to President Trump's desk to be signed into law as early as next week. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts is here live with more on that. Now, the timing of all this, of course, it's coinciding with Christmas and vacations.
Yeah, you know, and you've got at least a 10-day period here where not much is going to get done, though they will be working hard at the White House here to review that tax reform bill. The president, meantime, Heather, getting ready for a big celebration a little later on today at the White House after the vote to realign the bills in the House. The president planning to have a lot of members of Congress over here to the White House, likely a Rose Garden event to celebrate the passage of the bill, though the signing will come later. We'll get into the timetable of that in just a second. The president tweeting out a little while ago this morning, quote, "The tax cuts are so large and so meaningful, and yet fake news is working overtime to follow the lead of their friends, the defeated Dems, and only demean. This is truly a case where the results will speak for themselves starting very soon. Jobs, jobs, jobs." So what is in the final bill? It reduces the corporate tax rate to 21% from 35% in terms of tax cuts. Families earning between $49,000 and $86,000 will get an average tax cut of $930. Those earning between $86,000 and $149,000 will see an average tax cut of $1,800. Many of these tax cuts, by the way, are going to sunset by 2026. It's the intention for the corporate tax to remain permanent. And the SALT write-offs, that is the state and local tax deduction write-offs, decrease. people will only be able to deduct $10,000 of those taxes going forward. What's not in this bill is closing the carried interest loophole. The president promised again and again on the campaign trail and as president when he was going through tax reform that he was going to close this loophole, which allows millionaire hedge fund managers to pay an effective tax rate of about 24% instead of near 41%. The president's chief economic advisor, Gary Cohn, at a forum this morning says they tried to close that loophole but couldn't. Listen here.
We would have cut carried interest. We've been trying to cut carried interest. We probably tried 25 times. We hit opposition in that big white building with the dome at the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue every time we tried.
Hit opposition in the building with the big white dome at the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue. Sources tell Fox News that was the Republican leadership who would not even allow that measure on the table because those folks in Congress get a lot of contributions from private equity firms, and they were getting heavy lobbying from private equity firms not to close that carried interest loophole. So where do we go from here? What's the timetable? Okay, so after it passes the revote in the House, there will be that post-vote celebration at the White House. The bill will then be enrolled and sent to the president. That could take a couple of days, so he may not get it till Friday, maybe even the weekend. Then there is a White House review, which may take until the middle, potentially the end of next week. I'm told that the president really wants to sign this before the new year, so we may have the bill sent down to Mar-a-Lago. There may be an event somewhere outside of Mar-a-Lago to sign it, and then a big post-signing event the first week of January here in Washington, D.C., when everybody comes back. With tax reform behind him, the president will get started on his 2018 agenda, which includes rebuilding America's infrastructure, and then some thorny issues like immigration reform and welfare reform. You heard Peter Doocy mention that Jeff Flake says they're going to tackle DACA reform in January. He says he's got a commitment from Leader McConnell to start taking it up at least in January. It's got to be fixed by March. That's the president's timetable. I'm also being told by sources that the White House expects that there will be a 4-week continuing resolution to fund government agreed on before the Christmas break. They also fully expect that that will include what are called so-called pay-go waivers, which would waive any cuts to entitlements like Medicare to pay for tax reform. Chad Pergram reports that there's some resistance from Democrats in Congress to do that. And if they don't get those pay-go waivers, Heather, all that would do would be to delay the signing of the tax reform bill until early 2018, because that, and it's a kind of a Byzantine and arcane process, delay those pay-go cuts until 2019. But if they can't get an agreement in the CR for those pay-go cuts, watch for the president to sign this bill before the end of the year.
I know they definitely want to make sure they do everything correctly and by the book from this point moving forward.
Yeah, they want this to be a winner. There's no question about that.
Thank you, John. Have a great day.
Heather.
Bye.
You too.
So if Congress gets tax reform cleared, and we should know the answer to that in an hour or so, there's another hurdle facing lawmakers: funding the government. And time is running out, with a deadline at 11:59 Friday night, or the government begins to shut down. But the tax bill is priority one.
After 8 straight years of slow growth and underperformance, America is ready to take off. Stock market is up. Optimism is high. Coupled with this tax reform, America is ready to start performing as it should have.
What a disgrace. That's what this bill is. It's an absolute disgrace.
So what are the odds of a shutdown? Jake Sherman is senior writer for Politico, and he joins me now. Obviously, Congress just managed to roll a big boulder uphill in getting this tax reform approved. We expect, it's going to be a mere formality when the House votes on it in an hour or so. Now we've got the shutdown looming. What are the chances that it happens?
Very low at this point, but think about it. So yes, tax reform is done, and that's a huge accomplishment for the Republicans who control Congress and the president. We'll see, obviously, what happens in the midterm elections in about a year from now. We'll see if people feel that they have more money in their pocket, which would be very advantageous for Republicans who obviously faced headwinds in a midterm election. But as you noted, the shutdown does loom. Now, Republicans basically want to fund the government from Friday until the end of January. So they want to punt a whole host of big issues that they planned on addressing this month, which is removing budget caps to bolster military and domestic spending. They talked about fixing DACA, doing some immigration reform. All of these things are pushed into next year under this plan that's currently right behind me. The House Republican leadership is meeting and discussing all of these things. So I'd put the odds as low, but there is going to be some turbulence over the next day and a half, 2 days before this gets done.
A lot of animosity between the parties right now. I mean, this budget deal has been passed completely along party lines. Would Democrats want to lend a hand at all to get the government up and running, prevent a shutdown, or does it depend on, what kind of goodies get hung on the tree?
I don't think Democrats are going to be participants in this. Well, we'll see. I think it really depends on how many Republicans come out and vote for this government funding measure. If a bunch do and it's clear that it could pass, Democrats will probably pile on and help get it across the finish line. If not, Democrats are going to make Republicans sweat. And it's not the best example of, great government and people singing Kumbaya, but this is what parties in the minority do. They try to make things difficult for parties, for the people in the majority. Republicans did it when they're in the minority. Democrats are doing it now. So kind of typical Washington fare. But I would assume at this point, and these are famous last words, but I do think that they avoid a shutdown.
Yeah. Well, you have been covering Congress for quite a while now. You've seen a lot of the big battles there. Give us a sense of what has been all but accomplished now in the passing of this tax legislation.
I will give Paul Ryan and the president and Mitch McConnell and Kevin Brady, the Ways and Means chairman, deserve an enormous amount of credit here, because this is a process that usually takes several years. It has in the past taken several years. They really put the pedal to the metal, so to speak. And I think a lot of it was due to the fact that they don't have any big legislative accomplishments. Mm-hmm. Yes, the president has stacked the judiciary, which has been well covered, but the House doesn't have anything to do with that. So I think they felt like they needed to get something done. And in this one bill, they've done a lot. They've cut taxes for corporations and individuals. They have opened parts of Alaska for drilling for the first time in a long time. They have gutted a main part of the health care law. So this is, if you're a Republican and you look at this package, this is a big deal. This has been a huge accomplishment. One person that we can't forget here is Vice President Mike Pence, who drew on relationships that he had for more than a decade as a member of Congress and helped get this across the finish line.
Did some arm twisting for sure. Jake Sherman, senior writer for Politico. Jake, thanks.
Thanks, John.
Gentle arm twisting.
Okay,
of
gentle.
course.
All right.
Well, let's talk about that massive wildfire in Southern California. It's getting closer to full containment. That's good news. Wind crews think that they will get this very dangerous fire under control. Plus, the deputy FBI director grilled for hours on Capitol Hill over claims of anti-Trump bias in the Russia investigation. What lawmakers learned from Andrew McCabe, if anything. Plus, we're waiting for the House to hold its final vote on the tax bill. The countdown is on, and we'll bring you that live when it happens.
I think seeing is believing. When workers in the United States see their paycheck, their take-home money go up in February, I think there will be a huge change in sentiment.
On April 4th, the world's largest investment bank purchased $300 million of gold for their own account. What do they know that you don't? Investors are snapping up gold. This commodity is on the verge of an epic comeback. Gold and silver, opportunity of a lifetime.
We're seeing a lot of very big, very smart money move into precious metals. They get it. They know what's coming.
Call now and get this exclusive video. See why banks, billionaires, and financial experts are buying gold.
The richest guys who know what they're talking about, like Dalio and those guys, they're shifting into gold now.
Call Lear Capital at 1-800-452-5050 for your free video and special report, Banks, Billionaires, and Plan B. First-time callers receive this revolutionary gold note. It's a 1/20th gram of pure gold pressed into a paper-thin dollar-sized bill.
Everybody should have gold in their portfolio.
Get your free information and ask how you can receive up to $600 in free gold. Call 1-800-452-5050.
If you're looking for the perfect holiday gift for someone special to you, give a gift that will be truly appreciated. The Omaha Steaks Deluxe Gift Package. It's filled with $224 worth of great food for just $59.99. That's 73% off only on this special holiday offer. The people on your nice list will receive 4 tender mouth-watering filet mignons, 4 extra thick boneless pork chops, 12 premium all-beef meatballs, and everyone's favorite, 4 classic juicy Omaha Steaks burgers, 4 chicken fried steaks, and 4 caramel apple tartlets. Your order will be delivered straight to your home or the destination of your choice, so you can give this wonderful gift to anybody on your holiday list. As a special holiday gift from us to you, if you order right now, we'll include 4 additional Omaha Steaks burgers free. That's 8 total. You get it all. Omaha Steaks Deluxe Gift Package, a $224 value for just $59.99. Give everyone a gift they can appreciate. Give them the Deluxe Gift Package from Omaha Steaks today.
Hi, I'm Annette and I'm an actress. Under eye bags and wrinkles are so frustrating. I came across Plexiderm and I was so excited. We have a model, his name is Richie, and all he's doing is taking a small amount. It's so powerful, that's all it takes. And what I love about Plexiderm is you don't have to worry about the injections, the expensive plastic surgeons, because this is something that you can do in the convenience of your own home.
I was a little skeptical, I am not going to lie, because I saw people online with it. I'm like, yeah, right, that can't possibly work. Honestly, it really works.
I did this to my father at home, one eye, so that we can compare. 4 minutes, 34 seconds. The appearance of his under eye bag completely gone. We were screaming. It was so exciting and amazing. You have an event, you have any of those moments where you want to feel the best about yourself. The videos that you see are real. Those are the results you can expect to see.
Visit Plexiderm.com or call the number on your screen.
On average, everybody's going to benefit. The average tax cut for families, for your viewers, the median family of four in America is going to get a $2,059 tax cut. So that's real money for real people who are really struggling.
That is Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, of course, talking about how the tax plan benefits Americans. The Senate approving the bill very, very early this morning, and the final House vote will be today. Again, if passed, it heads to the White House, giving President Trump the Christmas gift that he was hoping for. So let's dig in a little bit deeper about what all this means. And joining me now is Georgia Congressman Doug Collins. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Well, Heather, we're glad to be with you. It's a great day.
You've been very busy over there. So let's get right to what people care about the most. Who will see more money in their pocket and when?
Well, the majority of Americans are going to see money in their pockets. And just like you had just a second ago, the speaker actually talking about the median income at $70,000 couple. When they're going to see $2,000 more in their pocket, that's the kind of growth that we're looking for. That's the kind of things that when come February, when they see this in their paycheck, they're going to know that what we're talking about here actually matters to the American public. And that's what we've been doing all along.
So why the difference in opinions? Listen to what Steny Hoyer had to say last night on Special Report.
The main issue is this is a bad bill. It's a bad bill for our country. It's going to create great debt. And it's perverse in the sense that it gives some 83% of the tax cuts to the wealthiest in America.
You know, he's not alone. We also hear, benefits going to the top 10% of earners. We had Nancy Pelosi saying it's shoddily written. It's a tax scam. And then, of course, Chuck Schumer said it blows the whole deficit. It threatens Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. So are they lying? Who's telling the truth?
Well, look, Nancy Pelosi talking about any bill being shoddily written, I mean, that's a pretty large leap right there, because when you consider health care and everything else she's been a part of. But let's just look at it. The problem here is a focus on difference. We have a progressive tax system. We all know that. We've had that progressive tax system for years. It taxes you at the rate of income in which you've succeeded at. The problem here is not the tax code. The problem here is they want to politicize the tax code because they believe that government is a much better way to spend people's money. They believe that the money taken out of people's wallets and sent to Washington, D.C. to fund programs that they like is a much better use in doing that. And so what they're trying to do is just simply play off programs. They don't want to talk about their ideology. They're not wanting to talk about the fact that they believe it to be better. What they're simply saying is, one, we didn't do it, so we don't like it. Number two is, we're not being very honest with the American people to say on how they get the benefits and how they don't. But I will say this, come February, let them look some of their constituents in the eyes and say, I really didn't want you to get that money back in your paycheck. We could spend it better. That'll be an interesting argument.
It will be interesting because Chuck Schumer said Republicans will rue the day that they voted for this. You talked about spending money. Now, this bill does add to the deficit, $1 trillion to the deficit. How do you plan to pay for that?
Well, that's based on the fact of you're looking at it right now is everything stays the same. I personally don't want to see this economy stay the same. I don't want to see the 1% growth that the Obama administration begun to seem to be in love with because they never did anything about it. They never looked forward to a growth economy. This tax reform provides growth. This tax reform provides our businesses and our job opportunities to have growth, which fuels income, which fuels growth in reducing our debt. So I think when you look at it, you got to look at the total picture and not a static view of if everything stayed the same right now.
All right, one more thing, and I have to ask you this. I know your wife was a lifelong educator in Georgia. My sister is a teacher in Georgia. I was reading from one of your local papers, an op-ed, and this statement was made. Tell me if this is true. When teachers can deduct school supplies, when teachers cannot deduct school supplies, but corporations can, it's just shameful. Is that true?
Well, no, the teachers can. We left that in there. Teachers can still deduct, but also for that letter writer, let me ask you something. Do they take into the account that a single taxpayer is going to have their standard deduction raised from $6,000 to $12,000? They take a married couple like my wife and I, she's been teaching for 28 years, and my love of my life is with me today. She looks at this and says, we're getting from $12,000 to $24,000 for families like us.
Okay.
What it again is ideological and a fear mongering from the Democratic leadership on down.
All right, yeah, and Republicans need to work on getting the other message out. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Have a good day.
Heather, it's great to talk to you. Take care.
Great.
Well, the deputy director of the FBI grilled for 8 hours behind closed doors about charges of anti-Trump bias in the Russia investigation. What lawmakers learned from Andrew McCabe. Congressman Matt Gaetz joins us moments from now.
It's a small finger, a worm.
Like a dagger?
Tiny sword.
Breadstick.
Matchstick.
A lamppost.
Coin slot. No.
10 seconds. A stick, a walking stick.
Yeah,
A boundary. Mount Kilimanjaro. Big dress.
Sorry. It's a tandem bicycle.
What?
As long as sloths are slow, you can count on Geico saving folks money. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
More people shop online for the holidays than ever before. And the United States Postal Service delivers more of those purchases to homes than anyone else in the country. Because we know, even the smallest things are sometimes the biggest.
What if you had a medical emergency away from home?
My chest hurts. I can't breathe.
What you need is Mobile Help, America's premier mobile medical alert system. Most systems only work at home, but with Mobile Help, you get help outside the home with coverage nationwide on one of the largest cellular networks at the press of a button. Call the number on your screen for a free full-color brochure. We'll send you everything you need, including this base station, the patented mobile device, and the waterproof pendant and wrist button. You can also add the fall button that automatically detects falls and signals help. Call today and receive a risk-free 30-day trial. There is no equipment to buy and no long-term contract. For a limited time, you will also receive a free emergency key box with your plan purchase. Remember, Mobile Help keeps you safe coast to coast.
Call 1-800-922-9316. That's 1-800-922-9316.
Vice President Pence, an exclusive interview. The historic tax vote, his first year in office, and the administration's fight for the future. Laura's exclusive tonight on the Ingram Angle.
A good enough dinner.
Hey, should I heat up some nuggets for us?
Isn't good or enough.
It's a plated night.
Yes!
So plan for great. Start at Plated.com. Pick from a wide variety of dinner options. All the shopping and measuring is done for you. So get together, share, enjoy. Go to Plated.com right now to get 50% off your first week of Plated Nights. That's up to a $79 value. This offer won't last, so go to Plated.com now.
Why just track your heart rate or cholesterol when inside all your cells, at the ends of your DNA, are protective caps called telomeres? They shorten with age, but also change with certain lifestyles, both good and bad. Go beyond ordinary vital signs to monitor the vitality of your cells with telomeres, a simple genetic test that lets you learn your cellular age based on your telomere length. There are steps you can take to slow down the clock on the aging process, but if you don't measure it, you can't manage it. Control how well you're aging. Learn more at teloyears.com.
Welcome back. Just in, the Thomas Fire in Southern California is now the second largest wildfire in the history of that state. Now, the massive blaze, it has caused the deaths of at least 2 people. One of them was a firefighter, and it has destroyed more than 1,000 homes and other structures since it started more than 2 weeks ago. It's now 55% contained, but officials think that the fire, which is burning near some seaside communities in Santa Barbara County, will not be fully contained for at least another 2 weeks.
Well, right now, new action linked to the Russia investigation, with the Senate Intelligence Committee getting ready to interview Bruce Orr tomorrow. He is the senior Department of Justice official who was demoted after it was revealed he had a meeting with Fusion GPS. That's the firm behind the anti-Trump dossier you've heard so much about. This comes on the heels of Andrew McCabe's testimony behind closed doors. The FBI deputy director was grilled over anti-Trump bias allegations.
We need to get rid of the bad apples in there, and we need them to come testify how they were trying to influence, whether it's the Hillary investigation, and that goes back years, as well as the election itself.
Joining us now, Congressman Matt Gaetz. He is a Republican from Florida. You're not very happy with the FBI's behavior in all of this lead up to the announcement of Bob Mueller's investigation and so forth.
Well, the senior levels of the FBI have been infected with an intractable bias that seemed to favor Hillary Clinton and work against President Donald Trump. Andrew McCabe gave testimony yesterday to behind closed doors, but we're calling for open, sworn testimony under oath so the American people can see the truth about what's going on. Andrew McCabe was present when the FBI's senior leadership hatched a scheme to deprive Donald Trump the presidency both before and after his election. That is totally unacceptable, and it poses a clear and present danger to our democracy. That's why we've got to expose the truth.
Is that the, are you referring to the meeting in Andy's office that is contained in those Peter Strzok texts to his mistress?
Absolutely. That's right. Peter Strzok was texting his mistress that he praised her for the plan that she hatched in Andy's office. So the current deputy director of the FBI is a key witness in a potential scheme to deprive President Trump of his ascension to the office he was elected to serve in. It's absolutely outrageous. This is the very same Andrew McCabe who wrote the emails designating the Hillary Clinton investigation as special and different than any other investigation that would go through the Washington area. And so time and again, we see this pro-Hillary bias, this anti-Trump bias, and the American people will only have confidence restored if we have open, sworn testimony under oath before God and everyone to find out what happened and what we need to do to make sure that it never happens again.
So you want to take some of the wraps off this information that's being given, for instance, to the Senate committee behind closed doors. You want to bring it out in the open to the Judiciary Committee right there in front of the television cameras.
Absolutely. And Chairman Bob Goodlatte has made a commitment to members of the committee that subpoenas will be going out for Peter Strzok, for his mistress, Miss Page, for Bruce and Nellie Orr, and also for Andrew McCabe. And so I think we're going to have a very busy schedule, and I think this is critical to the preservation of the country. We cannot live in a world where a bunch of bureaucrats can sit around and scheme about how to deprive the American people of their duly elected president.
But can they say, look, the Mueller investigation is still underway. We cannot testify. We cannot talk to you about some of these matters until Director Mueller completes his investigation.
Well, that's where we need the Attorney General to step up and do his job. The Mueller investigation has been proven to be biased. The American people know it's biased. Even Harvard University released a poll showing that 54% of Americans deem this to be an investigation riddled with conflicts of interest. And so it's time for Bob Mueller to put up or shut up. If there's evidence of collusion, let's see it. If there's not, let's move on as a country and let's institute reforms at the FBI so that an egomaniac FBI director like James Comey cannot depart from the normal standard procedures that guarantee all Americans equal treatment under the law. That is the organizing principle of our effort. Equal treatment, not special bias or special treatment for anyone.
People put their money where their heart is, and a lot of the people on the Mueller team put their money with Hillary Clinton.
Well, absolutely. Over half of the members of Mueller's team contributed to Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, or both. Mueller's number 2, Andrew Weissman, attended Hillary Clinton's election night party. I guess we can't call it a victory party because she lost, but he was at the party. I mean, you can't imagine how disturbing that is. We've got thousands of qualified federal prosecutors, and Bob Mueller has to pick as his number 2 someone who was at the Clinton election night party. It's outrageous, and it shows that there is a bias that is intractable, and it's infectious, and it can't be cured. And so we need to see the evidence Mr. Mueller has obtained. We need to find out to what extent it may have been tainted by the bias of his team members, and then we need to move on and get past this. But that will only happen if Attorney General Sessions stops being a spectator and actually steps up and leads the Department of Justice and shuts down this biased investigation.
Congressman Matt Gaetz, Republican of Florida. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
You're right. He's very fired up.
Yes, he is.
A lot to say. Well, was the engineer in the Washington train derailment distracted? People asking that question today. And could available technology have actually prevented that deadly crash? The latest on the investigation in just moments. Plus, the first major overhaul of the tax code in a generation is on the verge of reaching President Trump's desk as we await one final House vote.
I'm a little surprised the Democrats all decided voting against middle-class tax relief and making American businesses more competitive was a smart vote. And that's an argument we're more than happy to have going into the fall election as well.
When you have type 2 diabetes, you manage your A1C, but you also have a higher risk of heart attack or stroke. Non-insulin Victoza lowers A1C and now reduces cardiovascular risk.
Victoza lowers my A1C and blood sugar better than the leading branded pill.
And for people with type 2 diabetes treating cardiovascular disease, Victoza is now approved to lower the risk of major cardiovascular events such as heart attack, stroke, or death.
And while it isn't for weight loss, Victoza may help you lose some weight.
Victoza is not for people with type 1 diabetes or diabetic ketoacidosis. Do not take Victoza if you have a personal or family history of medullary thyroid cancer, multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2, or if you are allergic to Victoza or any of its ingredients. Stop taking Victoza and get medical help right away if you get symptoms of a serious allergic reaction such as rash, swelling, difficulty breathing or swallowing. Serious side effects may happen, including pancreatitis. So stop taking Victoza and call your doctor right away if you have severe pain in your stomach area. Tell your doctor your medical history. Gallbladder problems have happened in some people. Tell your doctor right away if you get symptoms. Taking Victoza with the sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar. Common side effects are nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, decreased appetite, indigestion, and constipation. Side effects can lead to dehydration, which may cause kidney problems.
Ask your doctor about Victoza.
At the end of the day, there's nothing better than a glass of wine, especially that first sip. The taste is so important, and wine just doesn't taste as good a day after it's been opened. What if you didn't actually have to open the bottle at all? With my Coravin, I never need to pull the cork. I simply insert the needle, tip, and pour. The cork reseals to preserve the rest of the bottle for months or even years. At home, relaxing with a glass of wine or entertaining friends, just insert, tip, and pour. Buy Coravin at these fine retailers.
Have you been diagnosed with spinal stenosis, bulging or herniated disc, sciatica, or other chronic spine conditions? Are you ready to find lasting relief? Call Laser Spine Institute, the nation's leader in minimally invasive spine surgery, to learn how a less than 1-inch incision can have you up and walking within a few hours of surgery, free from chronic back pain and with no hospital stay and no lengthy recovery.
Call 1-800-560-BACK now for your no-cost MRI review.
Take your first step in joining over 60,000 patients who found lasting relief at Laser Spine Institute.
My boss would send me home because I was in excruciating pain. Going to Laser Spine Institute, I go in, I have the procedure, and walk out a changed person, good to go back to work. It's changed my life completely.
If you've been told you might need neck or back surgery, call 1-800-560-BACK now for your no-cost MRI review.
Laser Spine Institute, a less than 1-inch incision, a lifetime of standing tall.
Having kids makes it tough to find time to deal with home projects like unclogging a drain or painting a room. But thankfully with Home Advisor, it's easy to find a local pro that I can trust because they've been background checked. I can read reviews, compare prices, and even book an appointment online. It's kind of amazing that it's completely free to use. It means I have time for more important things, like our newest little addition.
Go to homeadvisor.com now or download the free app.
A Fox News alert for you now. Federal investigators in the deadly Amtrak wreck want to know whether the engineer might have been distracted by a second person in his cab as that train hit a curve at more than twice the speed limit. Claudia Cowan live in DuPont, Washington with details on this and another concern for investigators. Claudia?
That's right, John. Another big question here is why Amtrak launched its new high-speed service before activating speed control technology that might have prevented a derailment like we saw here on Monday. Now, this technology is known as positive train control, and it's able to stop or slow down a speeding train. And Amtrak's president says it is critical for rail safety.
We are huge supporters of positive train control. We have all of our capital allocated to get it done.
And Anderson said the system should be in place on this stretch of track by next spring. Congress has ordered the nation's railroads to install this technology, but under pressure from the railroad industry, a 2015 deadline was pushed to the end of next year.
National Transportation Safety Board has been begging the railroad industry to implement positive train control. And every time it gets close, our Congress pushes it back. It pushes it back, and it keeps doing that. And realistically, thousands of lives we've lost because we don't have this positive train control.
Another possible factor, human error. Federal investigators say at the time of the accident, the engineer operating the train was helping a conductor become more familiar with the new route. Remember, this was this train's maiden run between Seattle and Portland. Given it was traveling 50 miles over the speed limit, there's concern the engineer may have been distracted. Investigators say they hope to interview him and the rest of the crew in the next few days. And as you can see here live, still lots of activity at the scene of the derailment. It looks more like a construction site than a freeway as crews work to remove a locomotive and make sure that this roadway is safe, the pavement, the guardrails, the overpasses and so forth, before they reopen it to traffic. They're hoping, they say, to open one, maybe two lanes later today, John. They say they have their fingers crossed.
Yeah, what a job to get that back up and running. Thanks very much, Claudia Cowan in DuPont, Washington.
Hey, Fox News alert for you as the House prepares for a final vote on the tax bill. Some political analysts warn that Democrats that their resistance to the process could backfire on them next year. Fox News political editor Chris Stirewalt saying this in an op-ed. In order to effectively challenge Republicans in 2018, Democrats will first have to admit the low condition to which the party has fallen. And if the Republicans' ability to pass this tax legislation does not convince Democrats of their current station, nothing will. So let's bring in our panel. Capri Cafaro is the executive in residence at American University School of Public Affairs and a former Ohio Senate Democrat minority leader. And Vince Colonnese is the editorial director at the Daily Caller and host of WMAL's Mornings on the Mall. Got all that out. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Capri, ladies first here. This is good news for Republicans if they pass it.
Well, they are fulfilling a promise, as Speaker Ryan said. But here's my word of caution. If we recall, back in 2010, when the Democrats who controlled both the White House and Congress passed through Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, basically along party line votes, you had to pass it to know what was in it. You had to, implement it so the people of the United States would decide that they liked it. And guess what happened? Obamacare became a lightning rod in the 2010 election, and Democrats lost. And I think that this could be a very similar scenario for Republicans in 2018, because let's face it, the process that the Republican-controlled White House and Congress looks exactly like what happened with the Democrats in 2010.
Vince, is it about process or is it about results? What do Americans care about? If they start to see more money in their pocket, that's good news.
Look, in the case of Obamacare, to Capri's point, you were compelling people, forcing people to spend money rather than letting them keep more of their own. I think this is the complete opposite of what Obamacare was. And in the case of this tax cut, what you're going to see is Democrats are going to have an impossible time
of explaining why it's a bad thing that 80% of Americans just received a tax cut and are seeing that real money in their paychecks. That'll be very compelling. I think the media campaign sort of against this tax cut, joined by the Democratic Party, has been very aggressive and effective so far. 75% of Americans either think they'll get no change to their taxes or they'll actually get a tax increase, and that's not true. 80% of Americans will see a tax cut, and they'll see that pretty quickly come February.
Yeah, we talked about that briefly with Congressman Collins. We talked about the messaging that Republicans need to get out there, because only about 20% think that the tax plan is good so far. Capri?
Right. Well, look, I mean, again, I think that part of the issue back with the Affordable Care Act was a disastrous message coming out of the White House. And, you know, ultimately, the proof will be in the pudding, as my mom would say. And if Americans, if middle-class Americans actually do end up with more money in their pockets, and if corporations really do, you know, invest their tax breaks into hiring new people, investing in capital, and that actually occurs, then fantastic. You know, but, you know, we really have to wait and see how it really goes into effect.
One thing that we don't have to wait on, we do know that the economy is booming overall right now. 2.2 million jobs are created. The GDP is not grown at this level since 2004.
But wages are still stagnant.
And so I wanted to ask you, Vince, what does that mean in terms of latching onto that? I mean, Republicans can use that moving forward.
It means that the Democrats don't have a case against Trump as being a poor effect on the economy at all. I mean, the economy is, you know, they believe that Obama deserves credit for getting us in this direction. They can make that argument. But the fact is, Trump is sitting in the White House right now. The strength of this tax bill and the anticipation of it has really risen the market to record levels. And I think everyone's undervaluing how horrific the Democratic stake is in this election. They have 26 Senate seats to defend this year, whereas Republicans have just 8. And 10 of those Democratic seats are states that Trump won last time.
Yeah.
So
including my home state of Ohio.
Well, we're out of time, but thank you both for joining us. And Ohio, I believe that it was Portman who said the proof is in the pudding. So we'll see what happens. Thank you both. Have a good day.
Never heard that before.
Proof in the pudding.
President Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital, sparking protests in the West Bank. Now the UN is planning to vote on a resolution criticizing the president's move. The strong words our UN ambassador Nikki Haley has for countries that don't support the United States on this one. Also, a deadly bus crash in Mexico. What we now know about the Americans on board.
Somehow he went down on the right side of the coast of the road. Then when the driver pushed it over and started flipping all over, and then the bus flipped on his side.
Critics are all in for Molly's Game, and now it's been nominated for 2 Golden Globe Awards, including Best Actress Jessica Chastain and Best Screenplay Aaron Sorkin.
It's just a friendly game with higher stakes.
Molly's Game, rated R.
Hi, I'm Johnny Bench. After a Hall of Fame career, it's no wonder why I use Blue Emu Arthritis Cream. Blue Emu's non-greasy, deep-penetrating formula gets down deep into those joints for big-time pain relief. Blue Emu, it works fast and you won't stink.
I love you, couch. You give us comfort, and we give you bare feet, back sweat, and Gordo's. Everything. I love you, but sometimes you stink. Soft surfaces trap odors. Febreze Fabric Refresher cleans them away for good. Because the things you love the most can stink. And plug in Febreze to keep your whole room fresh for up to 45 days. Breathe happy with Febreze.
Consumer Cellular makes it easy to stay in touch with family and stay within our budget.
Now our cell phone bill is only a fraction of what it used to be.
Our average customers get everything they need for about $25 a month, and plans start at only $15 a month with no contracts.
Consumer Cellular has a great choice of phones. Check out my new one. I picked this simple phone.
I use my son's old smartphone. Kept my number, too.
Consumer Cellular has been an approved AARP provider since 2008, and members get exclusive discounts.
It's a good thing Consumer Cellular is always there, because sometimes I need a little help.
Sometimes. We're proud to have received the J.D. Power Award for highest customer service 3 times in a row.
Over the years, we've seen a lot of change.
We actually use change. Luckily, there are some things we can still afford.
Like Consumer Cellular.
Stop paying too much for wireless service. Switch now, and for a limited time, get a $20 credit on any new line of service. Call 1-800-691-0121. Go online or visit a Target store today.
Diamonds at their lowest price in years. Half-carat solitaires are now $3.99, 1-carat $7.90, 2-carat $9.50 per carat, plus 1-carat studs $3.99. Insane prices on thousands of GIA diamonds and designer rings. Buy direct, the Jewelry Exchange.
Looking for a hotel that fits your budget? TripAdvisor now searches over 200 sites to find you the hotel you want at the lowest price. Grazie, Gino. Find a price that fits. TripAdvisor.
Liberty Mutual saved us almost $800 when we switched our auto and home insurance.
With Liberty, we could afford a real babysitter instead of your brother. Oh, that's my robe.
Is it?
When you switch to Liberty Mutual, you could save $782 on auto and home insurance and still get great coverage for you and your family. Call 1-844-252-1806 for a free quote today. You could save $782 when Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
The United Nations taking on President Trump. The Security Council will vote tomorrow on a resolution calling on the president to rescind his decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. The president also ordered the U.S. Embassy moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Now the upcoming vote has our UN ambassador, Nikki Haley, issuing a warning to nations which do not support our choice. She tweeted, "We're always asked to do more and give more. So when we make a decision at the will of the American people about where to locate our embassy, we don't expect those we've helped to target us. On Thursday, there will be a vote criticizing our choice. The U.S. will be taking names." Stephen Yates is former Deputy National Security Advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney. He joins me now. Stephen, this is a different kind of president, and his UN ambassador is taking a different approach to, well, some of our allies as well as our adversaries.
It is a different approach, and frankly, I think to most Americans it's welcome. I mean, for a very, very long time, we have contributed an awful lot to the United Nations. And after all, what the United States is doing is recognizing some centuries-old principles that every other member of the UN follows, that they are a sovereign state, they choose the location of their capital, and when we establish diplomatic relations with them, in almost every case, we have our embassy in their capital city. So really, this is catching up with reality on the ground in diplomacy, and it's hypocritical of all the other UN members to suggest that this is a real problem.
Well, and it's catching up with the will of Congress. They voted, what, 22 years ago to designate Jerusalem as the Israeli capital?
Right, and we've had multiple presidential campaigns where candidates have promised to do this for over a couple of decades. And so this is actually an historic move to kind of catch up with promises made, but also the realities of international affairs.
So much of diplomacy is, making nice and not ruffling feathers and so forth. When Nikki Haley tweets out that we're going to be taking names regarding those who support or oppose this move by the United States, well, who's she talking to?
Well, she's talking especially to members of the UN Security Council that have been ones who have asked things of us, talking to the members of the General Assembly, where the United States has given generously in assistance programs from peacekeeping to food aid to a whole host of areas. And so this is not actually out of the norm for what Russia, China, and other permanent members of the UN Security Council do when saying there's something that matters to them, matters to their people, and it's good for the United States to have some accountability among allies and friends at the United Nations, and even among some of those that aren't our friends.
There are some allies like the British, the Germans, who have publicly criticized the president's designation of his intention to move the embassy to Jerusalem and call Jerusalem the capital. Would you expect those countries to vote against the U.S.?
Well, my wish is that those allies that have been living in a postmodern dream of Europe and have had their voters decidedly tell them to exit that postmodern dream, to come back to the Westphalian system of nation states and recognize this reality. So that's a hope. I expect that these representatives are in the mainstream of establishment thinking on international affairs. They'll go where they go, and the U.S. may have to veto. But I think it's very good to put on public record that we're watching, and very good that we emphasize that we're fulfilling the will of American voters, and this is consistent with international affairs, and it doesn't really have any substantive impact on the outcome of Israeli-Palestinian negotiations. If Israel moves its capital or those facts on the ground change, we'll move with those facts and our ally in the future.
The vote is tomorrow, and we will all be watching. Stephen Yates, thanks for helping explain some of it to us.
Thank you, John.
Well, he became one of the most controversial figures inside the United States Catholic Church. Former Boston Cardinal Bernard Law, a symbol of the church abuse scandal that has died, or he has died. And we'll go live to Italy, where he spent his final years. Up next.
This is our workshop. These are our lights. Performance is our tradition. And this is the TLX. Take advantage of some of the best offers of the year at the Acura Seasonal Performance event going on now.
Lease the 2018 TLX for $299 a month for well-qualified customers. Visit your local Acura dealer today.
Have you ever seen something so beautiful that all you could say was, wow? Beaches, Turks, and Caicos, where anything is possible because everything is included. Wow. Get up to 65% off. Call 1-800-BEACHES.
If you've been turned down for a mortgage because of credit or tax return issues, Cash Call Mortgage now has credit and income-solving mortgages with no closing costs. Just call 855-890-CASH and we'll work with you to find a solution to your mortgage issues.
Vice President Pence, an exclusive interview, the historic tax vote, his first year in office, and the administration's fight for the future. Laura's exclusive tonight on the Ingram Angle.
America, are you tired of paying too much for the TV you love? At Dish, we hear you because we listen. So switch to Dish today and get the TV you love at a price you love. Choose Dish and get 190 top-rated channels for just $49.99 a month, guaranteed for 2 years. Plus, Dish includes premium channels like HBO, Cinemax, and Showtime for 3 months. Just call the number on your screen to join the millions who have switched to Dish today. Plus, upgrade to the award-winning Hopper, our most advanced DVR, designed from the ground up to make TV easy, fun, and effortless. Power your whole home with the Hopper and get crystal clear HD TV in every room. Watch and record multiple shows at once and store up to 500 HD hours of hit shows and movies. You can even turn any TV into a smart TV with built-in apps like YouTube and Netflix. Plus, Dish gives you the freedom to watch 100% of your live and recorded TV anywhere on your phone, tablet, and computer. So what are you waiting for? Call the number on your screen to upgrade to Dish today. You'll get 190 top-rated channels for $49.99 a month, guaranteed for 2 years. Plus, Dish includes premium channels like HBO, Cinemax, and Showtime for 3 months. And if you call today, you'll also get hands-free TV with a free Echo Dot. Alexa, show me family movies. Now, find your favorite shows faster than ever. And skip forward or backward, pause, and record TV with just the power of your voice. With Dish, the first satellite TV provider to offer Amazon Alexa voice control. America, it's time to get the TV you deserve. Just call the number on your screen today, and you could be watching Dish tomorrow. That's 190 channels for $49.99 a month, guaranteed for 2 years. The industry's best overall quality, satisfaction, and value. Award-winning technology for the whole family. And for a limited time only, you can get an Amazon Echo Dot when you mention offer code FREE Echo Dot. Dish, tuned into you.
New information on a deadly tour bus crash in Mexico. The AP reporting 8 Americans are among the 12 people killed in that accident. It happened as Royal Caribbean cruise ship passengers visiting the country were on their way to the Mayan ruins when their tour bus flipped over on a 2-lane highway.
The seat belts were tied below the seats, so no one told us to put the seat belts on. But my wife's sister, she saw it and she asked us to put it. I broke my clavicle. other than that, it was just minor bruises.
No word yet on what caused the accident, but a tourist on another bus says he saw swerve marks all over the road afterward. He says he thinks the driver somehow lost control of that bus.
Tough news. Well, a central figure in the Catholic Church sex abuse scandal has died. Former Cardinal Bernard Law resigned in 2002 after it was revealed that he helped cover up abuse by Boston area priests by moving them from parish to parish. Amy Kellogg is live for us in Milan, Italy, with details. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Heather. Cardinal Law was never accused of abusing parishioners himself, but rather looking the other way and, frankly, doing a lot more to protect priests than the victims. What went on in Boston when he was the Archbishop was the subject of the Oscar-winning film Spotlight about the Boston Globe journalist's dogged reporting on the widespread abuse and cover-up that went on from the 80s to 2002. It blew a lid off the whole problem of sex abuse at the hands of Catholic priests. While Pope Francis issued a statement today asking God, who he says is rich in mercy, to welcome Law and his eternal peace, a woman who said she's a survivor of abuse in Boston has another reaction to Law's death at the age of 86 after an illness.
I hope the gates of hell are swinging wide to allow him entrance. That's what I think. I won't shed a tear for him. I might shed a tear for everyone who's been a victim under him.
Law's legacy is so mixed. He was one of the top power brokers in the Catholic Church in the day, met with Fidel Castro and was close to several U.S. presidents. He was also a very vocal civil rights activist in Alabama or Mississippi and was a great champion of interreligious dialogue. There was an outcry that when he was forced to resign, he got a plum position as high priest of Santa Maria Maggiore, one of the 4 papal basilicas in Rome. And his funeral, Heather, will take place tomorrow at St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. Pope Francis will show up at the end to give a final blessing, and this is likely to provoke some anger among survivors of abuse in Boston, too. They don't think that he should have such an elaborate funeral, but apparently this is very common practice to do a funeral this way at St. Peter's anytime a cardinal passes away. Heather.
Yeah, you can see that the impact of all this is still very real for those victims listening to that woman. Thank you very much.
Well, the House expected to vote on the Republican tax bill in our next hour. We will cover it live.
Joseph A. Bank's Last Dash gift sale. Save up to 70% store-wide. Leather jackets, $199. All dress shirts, 2 for $89. And all wool sweaters, $49. The Last Dash gift sale. Only at Joseph A. Bank.
Merry Christmas.
Why are there so many miles on it?
What?
For great offers, visit your local Jaguar retailer during the Unwrap a Jaguar sales event.
If you're looking for the perfect holiday gift for someone special to you, give a gift that will be truly appreciated. The Omaha Steaks Deluxe Gift Package. It's filled with $224 worth of great food for just $59.99. That's 73% off only on this special holiday offer. The people on your nice list will receive 4 tender mouth-watering filet mignons, 4 extra thick boneless pork chops, 12 premium all-beef meatballs, and everyone's favorite, 4 classic juicy Omaha Steaks burgers, 4 chicken fried steaks, and 4 caramel apple tartlets. Your order will be delivered straight to your home or the destination of your choice, so you can give this wonderful gift to anybody on your holiday list. As a special holiday gift from us to you, if you order right now, we'll include 4 additional Omaha Steaks burgers free. That's 8 total. You get it all. Omaha Steaks Deluxe Gift Package, a $224 value for just $59.99. Give everyone a gift they can appreciate. Give them the Deluxe Gift Package from Omaha Steaks today.
If your moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's symptoms are holding you back, and your current treatment hasn't worked well enough, it may be time for a change. Ask your doctor about Entyvio, the only biologic developed and approved just for UC and Crohn's. Entyvio works at the site of inflammation in the GI tract and is clinically proven to help many patients achieve both symptom relief and remission. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious. PML, a rare, serious, potentially fatal brain infection caused by a virus, may be possible. This condition has not been reported with Entyvio. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, experience frequent infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Liver problems can occur with Entyvio. If your UC or Crohn's treatment isn't working for you, ask your gastroenterologist about Entyvio. Entyvio, relief and remission within reach.
The conversation starts here.
This is something all America should see.
The trusted perspective.
This is about patriotism.
And the team that's won viewers over.
And they've got to all get on board and do that.
Fox and Friends owns the conversation every morning on Fox News Channel.
So that big GOP tax bill about to hit the House again. They're going to be voting in the next hour, and you know the president will sign it if the House passes it.
Yeah.
High drama.
Again.
In Washington.
You said, yeah.
Good to have you here.
Nice to be here. I'll be back next week.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for joining us. Outnumbered starts right now.
Fox News alert: President Trump and Republicans on the verge of a major victory. The Senate passing the GOP's tax reform bill last night, and very soon the House should be voting on minor revisions to the final version. The last steps before the bill goes to the president's desk to be signed into law. This is Outnumbered. I'm Sandra Smith, and here today is Harris Faulkner, the editor of townhall.com, Katie Pavlich, Democratic strategist and Fox News contributor Jessica Tarlov is here. And today on the couch we have Lieutenant Colonel Michael Waltz, retired from the U.S. Army. He is a former Green Beret commander and was counterterrorism advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney. And he is outnumbered, and I say that with all due respect, sir.
No one's shooting at me. I'm good. And,
are you sure about that?
Day,
because there's 4 women here. So
only with words of power. Every day that we're born in this country, I'm one lucky guy.
Amen. Amen to that.
Beautifully said.
Yeah,
all right.
For sure.
Well, Merry Christmas to everybody.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
We will keep with that theme. Meanwhile, Republicans are celebrating a major legislative win on tax reform. The House about to vote again, this time on a revised version of the bill today. The Senate already passing the measure late last night so they can send it to President Trump to sign into law.
I was very excited. It was a very emotional time because I used to be, Jack Kemp was my mentor, and I've been working on this issue pretty much my adult life because I just feel so passionately that this is going to help get people from welfare to work. It's going to get people higher wages, better jobs. It's going to put the American economy in the lead in the global economy again. So I feel very passionate about it.
A large share of the credit goes to every single member of this conference who voted for the bill.
This is a historic night. The Democrats have said that the American people will remember this night. I hope they do.
My view of this, if we can't sell this to the American people, we ought to go into another line of work.
No Democrat voted for the bill, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has this warning for Republicans.
The Republican tax bill is like pouring gasoline on a raging fire, easing burdens on those who already have so much, while punishing or ignoring those who have too little, is a profoundly unpopular idea. My Republican colleagues ignore the warnings of the American people at their own peril. Vote no. Otherwise, I believe the entire Republican Party and each of you will come to rue this day.
And you can bet the president will be talking about taxes, the very term that we pull away from now to go live to the White House inside the cabinet room. The president on taxes, the potential shutdown of the government if they can't reach a deal, and more. Let's watch.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate everybody being here, cabinet meeting. And this looks like it will probably be our last cabinet meeting until the new year, but who knows? You never know what happens with cabinet meetings. We have had some really great and productive ones, and this will be one of celebration because of what took place last night. We had a historic victory for the American people. It'll go through final passage today in the House. Then the congressmen and women and the Senate will be coming over, the Republican Senate. Unfortunately, the Democrats don't like to see tax cutting. They like to see tax increases, and they like to complain. But they don't get it done, unfortunately, but they complain a lot. So we're going to have the Republican senators come over. We're going to have the Republican members of the House come over. We're going to have a news conference. And people are starting to see how great this historic victory was the passage of the massive tax cuts and reform. It's a lot of reform in there, but the tax cuts supersede. And I said very specifically, use the word tax cuts. You know, for 34 years, they've been trying to do this, and they haven't, and they use the word reform. Well, there is reform, but I said we're going to be talking about tax cuts. The heart of our bill is a tremendous amount of relief for the middle class, including a doubling of the child tax credit and a nearly doubling of the standard deduction. That's going to be tremendous for people. They're going to start seeing the results in February. This bill means more take-home pay. It will be an incredible Christmas gift for hardworking Americans. I said I wanted to have it done before Christmas. We got it done. I want to thank all of the leaders. I want to thank Mitch McConnell. I want to thank Paul Ryan and so many other people. And we'll go through the official ceremony in a little while when they come over to the White House. But we have a tremendous amount of talent in the House, a tremendous amount of talent in the Senate. I can tell you that. And they love this country. The bill also includes a new family tax credit for dependents. It makes the vast majority of family farms and small businesses exempt from the estate tax. The estate tax was killing the farmers. They were forced to sell farms at bargain basement prices. They don't have to do that anymore. And it brings overseas corporate profits back to the United States. Our plan also lowers the tax on American business from 35% all the way down to 21%. That's probably the biggest factor in this plan. We become competitive all over the world. Our companies won't be leaving our country any longer because our tax burden is so high, because now we're down toward the lower end of the spectrum as opposed to being the highest. We were the highest. And it's really, above all else, it's a jobs bill, because these corporations that are already coming into the country, but they're going to start pouring into the country, it's about jobs, and they're going to build some really great companies and a lot of jobs. We've already created over 2 million jobs since the election. The stock market, as you see, it's at an all-time high yet again. I think that's 86 times since I got elected. 86 times we're at an all-time high. Unemployment is at a 17-year low. We've liberated the American economy from Washington overreach, cutting 22 regulations for every one new regulation, the most in history by far. We've cut hundreds and hundreds of regulations, allowing people to have their businesses, work their businesses, and hire people. And we still have plenty of regulation. Don't worry. We have plenty of regulation. Regulation's not the worst thing, but over-regulation was stifling in our country. Couldn't do anything. We've unleashed U.S. military might on ISIS, and today the coalition to defeat ISIS has recaptured nearly 100% of the territory once held by the terrorists in Iraq and Syria. We're close to 100%. We'll be finished pretty soon with the ISIS situation in those two countries. And we're making it very difficult for them to come here, believe me. We're fighting that very hard, Homeland Security and our great military. We're restoring immigration enforcement at levels that our country has never seen before, and taking the fight to the criminal gangs like MS-13, where we're decimating those animals. They're animals. What they do is horrible, horrible. And we're making the immigration system work for Americans, but we're cleaning out towns of those MS-13 gangsters. That's why we're calling on Congress to fund the border wall, which we're getting very close to. We're working on that. We have a great wall. We put up, as you know, 6 different varieties of wall. We want to be able to see through. We have a lot of help from the Border Patrol and from the ICE agents. We're getting their input on the wall because who knows better than them? But we want vision. We want to be able to see through who's on the other side of the wall. And we have some wonderful prototypes that have been put up. And I may be going there very shortly to look at them in their final form. And we'll be building the wall, and we'll be doing lots of other things. We will, very importantly, be funding and closing the loopholes that undermine our enforcement, and we will get rid of chain migration and the visa lottery program. We have a lottery program where we take in a lottery people from other countries. In some places, we are bringing in some very bad people. And through chain migration and through the lottery, the man that ran over people on the West Side Highway in Manhattan a month ago, 2 months ago. He came in through the visa lottery. We don't want this group of people anymore. People met him in the neighborhood. They all said he was horrible, nasty, mean, wouldn't talk to people. They could see it coming. They could actually see it coming. When they went back to his area where he lived, they could see it coming. They said, what's he doing here? Well, when we take people to the lottery, they're not putting their best people in the lottery. It's common sense. They're not saying, oh, let's take our best people and let's put them into the lottery so that we can send them over to the United States. No, they put their worst people into the lottery. And that's what we get in many cases. So that's not going to be happening anymore. We're going to end it. So we're ending the lottery. We're ending the chain migration, where in his case, they say he might have had up to 24 people come in with him indirectly. Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandfathers, grandmothers. And they come in because one guy gets in, then you bring the whole family. And not a lot of jobs there either, I want to tell you. Not a lot of working jobs. We're rebuilding our nation, we're rebuilding our confidence, and we're standing in the world as a different country. We're being respected again. Today, the entire world can see that America is coming back, and America is coming back rapidly and strongly. They see that with what's going on economically. This is even before the tax cuts have been approved. And I have to say that a lot of people thought the tax cuts have been approved. I heard a couple of our folks, Steve and Gary and a few others this morning, and they're thinking that the market hasn't fully digested what they've got here. I don't think the market's even begun to realize how good these are, like, for instance, full expensing and other things. We have things in there that is so incredible. One of the great things is bringing back perhaps $4 trillion back into our country. $4 trillion of money that we couldn't get back because of our tax code and because of regulation. We were unable. That money now can flow back into our country and produce jobs and go into our companies where they want to spend it. They want to spend the money here. They weren't allowed to. Americans are filled with excitement for the future, optimism like they haven't seen. You've seen all the charts, and enthusiasm for the incredible possibilities that lie ahead for our country. At this wonderful time, it's a blessed season. We have a blessed country. We're renewing our bonds of loyalty to each other and to this nation. This nation is a nation with tremendous spirit again. You see that. Housing confidence is the highest it's been in many years. Just came out. Manufacturing, the highest level of confidence they've had since they started doing it many years ago. And business, it has the highest level of confidence. So we're doing a lot of things. So we'll be meeting again. The cabinet will be meeting again shortly. But we have done a job like no administration has done. We get the final passage, and we are waiting for that final passage. As you know, we do have to go through one more vote in the House, and that's being done virtually as we speak. So when that's done, you add all of that to what we've done in terms of regulatory, in terms of military. As you know, we're going $700 billion for military. We're rebuilding our military. We cannot have a weak military in this time and age. So we're rebuilding our military. But when you add it all up together, and then you add two things, the individual mandate is being repealed. When the individual mandate is being repealed, that means Obamacare is being repealed because they get their money from the individual mandate. So the individual mandate is being repealed. So in this bill, not only do we have massive tax cuts and tax reform, we have essentially repealed Obamacare, and we'll come up with something that will be much better, whether it's block grants or whether it's taking what we have and doing something terrific. But Obamacare has been repealed in this bill. We didn't want to bring it up. I told people specifically, be quiet with the fake news media because I don't want them talking too much about it, because I didn't know how people would. But now that it's approved, I can say the individual mandate on health care, where you had to pay not to have insurance. Okay, think of that one. You pay not to have insurance. The individual mandate has been repealed. The other one is ANWR. So a friend of mine who was in the oil business said, I can't believe it, ANWR. They've been trying to get it for 40 years. 40 years, and I didn't know that. We have Anwar. We're going to start drilling in Anwar, one of the largest oil reserves in the world that for 40 years this country was unable to touch. That by itself would be a massive bill. It'll be one of our biggest oil reserves. It's one of the biggest in the world. Puts us at a level that we're not even at now, and we're doing very well in terms of, as you know, energy. But Anwar by itself would be a big bill. But that's when it hit me, when he said, you know, they've been trying to get that, the Bushes, everybody, all the way back to Reagan. Reagan tried to get it. Bush tried to get it. Everybody tried to get it. They couldn't get it passed. That just happens to be here. And we did that at the request of the two great senators from the state of Alaska, which is a very special place. But I will tell you, Anwar is a big, big deal. It's not ever mentioned by the press, and that was fine until now. Now you can mention it. So we're going to have tremendous energy coming out of that part of the world, and people have wanted to do it for 40 years. So with that, I'm going to ask Ben Carson, and you can stay if you want it, because you need the prayer more than I do, I think. You may be the only ones. Maybe a good, solid prayer, and they'll be honest, Ben. Is that possible? So, Ben, we'll ask you to say grace. Thank you.
Our kind Father in heaven, we're so thankful for the opportunities and the freedom that you've granted us in this country. We thank you for the president and for cabinet members who are courageous, who are willing to face the winds of controversy in order to provide a better future for those who come behind us. We're thankful for the unity in Congress that has presented an opportunity for our economy to expand so that we can fight the corrosive debt that has been destroying our future. And we hope that that unity will spread even beyond party lines so that people recognize that we have a nation that is worth saving, and recognize that nations divided against themselves cannot stand. In this time of discord, distrust, and dishonesty, we ask that you would give us a spirit of gratitude, compassion, and common sense, and give us the wisdom to be able to guide this great nation. In the future, we ask in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Ben. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Mike, would you like to say a few words?
Well, I appreciate it, Mr. President. As I told you last night, shortly after the Senate vote, I know I speak on behalf of the entire cabinet and of millions of Americans when I say congratulations and thank you. Thank you for seeing through the course of this year an agenda that truly is restoring this country. You described it very well, Mr. President. From the outset of this administration, we've been rebuilding our military, putting the safety and security of the American people first. You've restored American credibility on the world stage. We're standing with our allies. We're standing up to our enemies. But you promised economic renewal at home. You said we could make this economy great again. And you promised to roll back regulations. And you signed more bills rolling back federal red tape than any president in American history. You've unleashed American energy. You've spurred an optimism in this country that's setting records. But you promised the American people in that campaign a year ago that you would deliver historic tax cuts. And it would be a middle-class miracle. And in just a short period of time, that promise will be fulfilled. And I'm deeply humbled as your Vice President to be able to be here because of your leadership, Mr. President, and because of the strong support of the leadership in the Congress of the United States. You're delivering on that middle-class miracle. You've actually got the Congress to do, as you said, what they couldn't do with Anwar for 40 years. You've got the Congress to do with tax cuts for working families and American businesses what they haven't been able to do for 31 years. And you got Congress to do what they couldn't do for 7 years in repealing the individual mandate in Obamacare. I know you would have me also acknowledge people around this table, Mr. President. I want to thank the leaders in Congress once again for their partnership in this. I want to thank your outstanding team, your Secretary of the Treasury, Stephen Mnuchin, for Gary Cohn, for Ivanka Trump, for your great legislative team, all the members of this cabinet who partnered to drive your vision forward over the past 6 months after you laid out that vision for tax reform. But mostly, Mr. President, I'll end where I began and just tell you, I want to thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank you for speaking on behalf of and fighting every day for the forgotten men and women of America. Because of your determination, because of your leadership, the forgotten men and women of America are forgotten no more, and we are making America great again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. God bless you.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Well, I also want to thank all of the members of the cabinet, and I think we have a fantastic team. And next year, we're going to go on to really some amazing things. We're making ourselves very strong again, right, General? We are strong. He was not so happy that first week when I met him. He was saying it's really depleted. Well, we're building it up rapidly, and we'll be at a level like never before. But the members of the cabinet, you've been outstanding. I like the message that Nikki sent yesterday at the United Nations for all of these nations that take our money and then they vote against us at the Security Council, or they vote against us potentially at the Assembly. They take hundreds of millions of dollars and even billions of dollars, and then they vote against us. Well, we're watching those votes. Let them vote against us. We'll save a lot. We don't care. But this isn't like it used to be, where they could vote against you and then you pay them hundreds of millions of dollars and nobody knows what they're doing. So, Nikki, that was the right message that you and I agreed to be sent yesterday, and I've had a lot of good comment on it, believe me. People are tired of the United States. The people that live here are great citizens that love this country. They're tired of this country being taken advantage of, and we're not going to be taken advantage of any longer. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. President, how will the tax plan cost you a fortune? How will the tax plan cost you a fortune, Mr. President?
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
The president in the cabinet room with what he said is likely his final meeting with his cabinet, but he says you never know, things can happen. But you saw him there in the last few words talking foreign policy, and you saw him kind of look off over his right shoulder past Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, whom we believe was seated at the end of the table, was Ambassador Nikki Haley, with a cabinet position, thanking her by simply saying, Nikki, you and I made the right decision that we talked about yesterday with regard to the UN vote now on the president's decision about Israel, and recognizing Jerusalem as its official capital, and moving eventually, it'll take 3 or 4 years, eventually our U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, the significance of that. On the couch today, we have Colonel Michael Waltz, and I want to get your thoughts just on that particular portion, because that's more of America First, which has been his message this week.
Well, and I was able to get a briefing from General McMaster on the national security strategy, and the other point that he was making there, aside from making Jerusalem the capital, was yesterday Ambassador Haley put Iran on notice again in terms of their support for the Houthi rebels, the launches that they're making for rockets into Saudi Arabia, and all of the other nefarious activity that's going on.
All right. I wanted to start there because that's where he ended. But obviously, if I draw your attention to the small box on the lower corner right of your screen, that is the House. They have to do a bit of a revote because they broke some rules in the Senate with some language. So now they're going to revote on the tax bill. No one is worried that this thing won't pass for a second time in the House, but they have to re-debate, as we saw them do yesterday before they voted. And the minute that this wraps up, then we'll see the revote. And the president talked about having people over to the White House, to the People's House, to celebrate this a little bit later. And I caught him, Katie, maybe firming up some talking points as the GOP now has to sell this tax bill to the masses.
Right. You had Press Secretary Sarah Sanders today tweeting out that the Christmas present is almost been delivered to the American people in terms of tax reform. President Trump, during his remarks, talked about the repeal of the estate tax, how it affects farmers. He talked about how the tax bill will go into place and start actually helping people in February, because there will be a little bit of a period where things have to be implemented and put through before people actually start seeing it in their paychecks. And he talked about the Obamacare mandate and actually specifically said, now that the Obamacare mandate has been repealed, that means that Obamacare has been repealed. And so Republicans are not only going to be talking about tax reform in the next couple of months, they're also going to be talking about Obamacare as well, and that will be coming up as a topic, I'm sure, with Democrats.
You know, at year's end, Jessica, and the president's right to say that when he's talking about the critics of this bill, saying that we'll truly let this speak for itself, looking at the results of what we see happen in the economy, the growth that happens as a result of this bill. But already we have started to hear some major U.S. corporations come out and say they're excited about this. They're raising expectations as far as earnings. They say their hiring is going to go up in the new year. The excitement is out there. It's not just political. You're hearing that from U.S. businesses.
Some of them, and then there are some obviously on the other side. Mike Bloomberg made comments where he said it's complete fantasy land to think that this is going to trickle down to those and that the wages will grow up from it. But yes, you are hearing it. You can't deny the optimism about the economy. You can't deny the Dow. And that's what President Trump said he was coming in to do. And that's what he has done. So this certainly gives the Republicans a boost going into 2018 that they can say that this got done. And I agree, if people see even a little bump in their paychecks, that's going to be exciting. But we do know that the long-term look at this bill is not the same as what's going to happen in the next year. And Democrats and a lot of Republicans who don't even like this bill because there are parts of it they don't enjoy. We've talked about this before, the defunding of the CHIP program, which obviously needs to come back. And what this does, the cuts for the very wealthy, I think 83% of the gains are going to go to the top 1% in the end. And I know they're the biggest taxpayers. But those are things Dems will continue to run on.
So I want to get the Colonel back in here because, you know, some of the criticism for Republicans across this whole landscape of getting tax reform passed was that they called it that. You heard the president say, I tried to tell them not to call it tax reform. It's tax cuts. I said, use those words.
Well, you know, I think it's worth remembering the title of the legislation is the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. You know, this is going to make American corporations competitive again around the world. It's also worth remembering, let's look at some of the corporate tax rates. China 25%, UK 19%, Ireland 12%. We are now going to be competitive. And I think in 2018, when people are around their kitchen tables saying, yes, I got a tax cut, but gee, my relatives who are partially employed or unemployed now have jobs, I think that's going to make a huge difference. And the pass-through taxes, I can tell you, the pass-through piece for LLCs and small business owners, I'm a small business owner, I'm excited, and I'm going to be hiring folks next year.
It's really interesting. Newt Gingrich earlier this morning was tying this into the national security speech that the president gave this week as well, saying that the two are not disconnected.
Economic security is national security.
Right. Yeah. If you read the national security strategy that the White House put out earlier this week, they specifically discuss economic stability domestically is essential to fighting foreign adversaries, whether it's overseas in the battlefield or whether it's in the cyber warfare arena. And so that is a definite solidified part of this administration's national security strategy.
Well, which it has been a plank of the national security strategy for decades. The president's emphasized that. We know how. Yes, obviously this president is.
Well, but this president today, though, Jessica pointed this out, and he said, I didn't want them talking about it until this thing passed in detail. But he said Anwar is a big deal. And that ties into that whole sort of independence, if you will, as you have a more global conversation about energy independence.
Well, like we were talking about, I mean, you know, we are going to now eclipse Saudi Arabia as an exporter. That changes the dynamic in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Wow. Exciting words today as we watch the screen. They are debating yet again the House floor. They are debating yet again the final version of the tax bill. There were some snafus that they have to fix, and they're going to vote again. Meantime, Republican Senator Susan Collins says reports that she got duped in her decision to vote for tax reform are sexist. Whether she's right, or is it wrong for her to play the gender card on this? Stay close.
Did you know that silver is considered one of the world's most useful commodities, second only to oil? You could invest in an oil field, or you can buy silver, the world's miracle metal. With endless uses in green energy, electronics, and medicine, discover why the experts say silver is the new oil.
Investing in silver is the perfect way to protect your wealth.
Silver is actually my favorite investment, particularly at this price.
I love silver.
Call Lear Capital at 1-800-885-6000 to get this special report, Vanishing Silver, and free Experts DVD. Discover why Rich Dad Poor Dad's best-selling author Robert Kiyosaki loves silver, and why these experts see silver as a win-win investment. The first 50 callers also get our Precious Metals IRA Transfer Guide and up to $600 in free gold or silver. This offer ends soon. Call 1-800 1-800-885-6000. 1-800-885-6000. That's 1-800-885-6000. Call now.
Sure, it's his gift, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy it too. Now at Men's Warehouse, take 60% off sweaters and coats, plus 60% off designer suits. You're gonna like the way he looks.
If you've been turned down for a mortgage because of credit or tax return issues, Cash Call Mortgage now has credit and income-solving mortgages with no closing costs. Just call 855-890-CASH and we'll work with you to find a solution to your mortgage issues.
Looks like you're not sleeping well.
Yeah. How did you know? Hey, Megan!
What? Hey, you're that guy.
The My Pillow guy. That's right, and I'm here to help you get the best sleep of your lives.
Oh, you have a down pillow. Here's the problem with down pillows. You lay there, you feel comfortable, and guess what? It goes down, and you got one bent neck. So this pillow's no good, and I see you're sleeping on memory foam.
Right.
Well, I'll show you what's wrong with that idea.
Okay.
Sleep's all about too high or too low, and I'm going to show you where your comfort level would be.
So, that feels better.
Right, that's better, but I'm not going to sit and hold this all day. So every morning you're getting up like, it's not good. Just like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and none of them worked. That's why I invented My Pillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck aligned. My Pillow will hold its shape all night long, regardless of your sleep position, for the best sleep of your life.
It feels great to wake up in the morning and feel well rested. It's shocking to me that a pillow could make this big of a difference in my life.
I make all my pillows in my home state of Minnesota, and I back them with my 60-day money-back guarantee. My Pillow has a 10-year warranty, and it's machine washable and dryable. Sleep is one of the most important things to your health, and My Pillow is one of the most important things to your sleep.
Call or go online to order My Pillow Premium, and Mike will give you a second pillow absolutely free. Use the promo code on your screen to get 2 My Pillows for the price of 1. Don't delay. Order now.
You're sleeping better.
Much better.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Good questions lead to good answers. Our advisors can help you find both. Talk to one today and see why we're bullish on the future. Yours.
All right, well, the House is right now debating the final version of this tax bill. As you know, it already passed in the House and then went on to the Senate. They passed it in the Senate, but there was some problems there. So there's now a vote again in the House today. We're expecting that to begin at any moment. When that happens, we will let you know. All right, well, one of the key Republican votes on the tax reform bill was Senator Susan Collins, the main Republican throwing her support behind the bill after getting some key concessions. But many in the media ran with the narrative that she was being tricked.
I would keep a very close eye on Susan Collins, who is under tremendous pressure. Remember, she was sold a bill of goods, some of us thought, by Mitch McConnell in promising these 2 pieces of legislation that were supposed to ameliorate the effects of the repeal of the individual mandate.
It really is an open question as to whether or not Republicans are planning on giving her what they promised her in exchange for her vote.
Here's the question. Is she getting played?
All right, so Collins hit back, telling reporters, quote, "I believe that the coverage has been unbelievably sexist, and I cannot believe that the press would have treated another senator with 20 years of experience as they have treated me. They've ignored everything that I've gotten and written story after story about how I'm duped. How am I duped when all your amendments get accepted?"
Katie, I'm going to you.
Yeah, I mean, Susan Collins was a wild card there for a while. They weren't sure if this was going to pass in the Senate because of the opposition that she had, including to President Trump's desire to have the corporate tax rate lowered to the number that he wanted. So this idea that she didn't know what was in it before she passed it, especially when she was offering amendments, as she mentioned, just doesn't really make sense. And why the media, especially the news anchors at those other networks, would take that line is
She's
interesting.
pulling the gender card. Do you agree with that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't like to pull the gender card much. I don't know if they might be saying this about someone else who got duped if they thought that they were going to vote.
They didn't say about Bob Corker. Corker over the weekend was saying, "Oh, I don't know how that language got in there that seemed to enrich him."
Sounds like he really did get duped then, right?
No. Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't play the gender card either. I would just play the facts card. I mean,
you know, people want their representatives to get stuff done. Period. And the media can't have it both ways. You can't criticize members of Congress for being in their ideological pillboxes and throwing grenades and getting nothing done, but then criticize them for compromising when they need to get legislation passed. So, I mean, we have to get it past this kind of compromise is a dirty word. She got a lot of what she wanted. She gave on some things, and now we have a fantastic tax bill.
What about you, Jessica?
Well, we all know I'm a big fan of the gender card, but I actually don't think that's what was going on here, because Jeff Flake said that he was getting DACA protection, which ended up not being true. They said, actually, you're going to get to just sit at the table and talk about it, and was discussed in exactly the same way.
You might call that
Jeff Flake was
dupe.
duped, right? And Susan Collins, I think it more than just she was duped about what happened right there, because she did get her amendments. She's very clear about that. Democrats look to Susan Collins as a hero because of what she did during the health care debates, that she ended up killing that bill. So the fact that she then signed something or voted for something that took away the individual mandate, I think is where the frustration is, more than they think that because she's a woman, she got duped and they took advantage of her for that. So I don't actually see this one as a sexist trope if we want to revisit issues where I think women are spoken to and spoken about differently than men. There are many. This one I don't see.
So you're going to hold on to that gender card for now?
Yeah, I'll save it for later.
No, I'm just saying, I mean, look at what she got. She got deductions for large medical expenses. She got, the cap for the SALT taxes. She got tax exemptions for certain types of hospitals. I mean, she got a lot of what she needed in there. And I just don't,
So in the mainstream media, you have a conservative who is doing things that turn out to be good and she doesn't get credit.
Right. Well,
that's not gender.
Well, and I think part of it was there was some criticism that she didn't cry. While hearing from a DACA, that was the original that she didn't cry while hearing from not a DACA, but someone who was losing their Obamacare. And
so she didn't have the matching emotion.
Exactly.
That's like telling women, well, you don't smile enough.
Right. See, in that case, she wasn't empathetic enough in that situation.
That she wasn't empathetic as a woman.
All right,
she got a lot done.
I want to get in here, go to Capitol Hill for a second. As you can see, voting has begun. This is the amended bill. It came back from the Senate. The House is now re-voting on that. It is expected to pass. When it does, we'll let you know. But obviously, after this, it goes to the president's desk to be signed. So we're watching the vote. It's happening right now. We'll let you know when it concludes. Michael Waltz.
I'm excited. Again, small business owner. I'm ready to hire.
Yeah.
I have my CFO has built in the lower tax rate for both corporation and LLC, and we've figured out how many jobs that we're going to create next year.
That is such a key point, because I think the entire economy is doing that as well.
That's right.
So you heard the president say today, and again, I mean, Republicans are kind of getting chided. It's kind of like throwing a little shade, but light shade, I guess. Let me give you guys the better talking points on this in terms of Americans and where they can feel this. Like, you're excited about this, but the president drove home, I think, better than the GOP as a whole did, this idea that farms were really getting hit. Well, farm owners were having to sell for a lot less than their property was worth because of that estate tax. Well, that actually takes some of the venom out of the hands of Democrats who were throwing just all sorts of fire about the estate tax and who it benefited. And the president said, no, these were struggling farms, giving the example, as you are now, of how you'll use this to hire in your own
these
small
are your
business.
Electricians, these are your franchise owners, these are your small mom and pop retail shops.
They're also your hedge fund managers, your real estate tycoons.
No, but not on the pass
but it is.
Not on the pass
But on the whole bill, I mean, that's what happened this weekend. Bob Corker says, I woke up and I don't know how.
Top to bottom. It's not upper crust.
I understand
it's top to bottom of those
small businesses.
I completely agree with you. The precedent 100% messages better than the GOP, which is why he managed to win this presidency.
But it helps if it's true, right?
Well, but
like if he's just messaging and it's not true.
He's not talking about his tax break, which would be the most honest thing to do.
Why does it matter if he gets a tax break and the middle class?
Small businesses hire north of 67%.
Said that he wouldn't be getting a break.
This is what I don't understand about the left.
They're a job engine driver, as you said. 67% is that number that we've been seeing kind of edge between 66 and 70 over the last few years for hiring percentage in America.
If you're giving a tax break to wealthy people and also giving a tax break to the middle class, that's somehow what Reagan a bad thing, because you are not only just giving it to the middle class, and we can give one to everyone. But this bill doesn't exactly do that. But back to your point about the estate tax. The estate tax is actually just a fancy, nice way to say death tax. It's taking your money after you have paid your entire life to the government after you die, rather than allowing you to pass it on to your children, whether you're a hedge fund manager or a farmer. It shouldn't matter which one you are.
Bigger deal
when you save it, take it when you earn it, take it when you die.
Take it all
a lot of times those are family businesses. Not to say that hedge fund managers don't pass along the family business, but we know farming in this country.
About the family business hedge fund managers. They know all about it.
Every month, everyone is looking at their 401k return, their retirement.
They're looking at it now.
Looking at it and seeing it go up, up, and up, and that is across the board.
Absolutely.
And that is
They're not having to side-eye it anymore.
Right.
But there are. But we do know that some of these cuts do get phased out over time. I mean, this isn't.
So
You're
the Bush
in the
tax
next
cuts and Obama.
Absolutely, but
rolled them right
the
in.
argument that's being made, which is that the Americans are just going to be across the board better off from this, is not when you look at the 10-year forecasts. We know, obviously, and listen, I'm a Democrat. I don't wake up in cold sweats about the deficit, but we know that there are a lot of Republicans who are concerned about that.
And that's a national security issue, too.
Americans are concerned about that.
Americans are concerned about that.
This is our grandkids'
and this adds 1.5 trillion. We're losing $330 billion from the repeal of the Obamacare individual mandate and revenues. We'll have to make that up somewhere else.
That's
so
right.
I'm thrilled that you're hiring more
but you know
people,
what? Can I just say it's a little disingenuous, and I've looked at the sunsetting that you're talking about of certain of the individual tax cuts, right? So it's a little disingenuous to say, well, they're just going to go away. You know, Democrats have an opportunity down the road to vote with Republicans to make sure that we extend those tax cuts.
I
think you might not like it
because
it means that your side's going to have to extend the tax cuts.
That's exactly what we did with the Bush cuts.
Right,
I don't think there is, listen, there's not a natural reflexive hatred for a tax cut that lives in liberals.
Yes,
I think no, there isn't. Well, at least not in this liberal. Listen, I'm getting a tax cut.
I disagree
That's great. But when you have the sunsetting, when you have the breaks, the death tax, maybe not the alternative minimum tax, for instance, that is just going to benefit people like the Trump family. Those are things, when you ran on a platform, a populist platform, that you are going to be making sure that the lower and middle classes are better off. Why did you cut the corporate tax rate so dramatically and not the individual rate at the
because
level?
You do not have to keep a corporate tax rate high in order to benefit the middle class.
I'm saying, why couldn't you have done a higher individual cut and lowered the corporate rate? Democrats aren't opposed to cutting the corporate rate, maybe not going down to the level that it was, but that is somewhere where we can agree. Why wasn't the individual rate? Why don't you let people, at the moment that the cut goes into place, actually control that money themselves instead of waiting for a trickle-down miracle?
So just an update. I just wanted to jump in and update everybody that the voting is underway in the House right now. They're voting on the Senate bill that went back to the House after it passed yesterday. And we're waiting for this to come in. If you can see the tally there, 98 yeas, 91 noes right now. Just to remind everybody, 12 House GOP lawmakers voted against this bill in the original vote. It is largely expected to pass again. Remember, those were Republicans from those high tax states that object to this bill. But right now, it's on its way to passing. Not yet, but it does go to the president's desk after this. And this would be the conclusion of a big week. Michael Waltz.
Huge week. I want to go back to Jessica's point on, and that's a question, I think a fair question a lot of people are asking. Why did we not just lower the individual tax rates? Why did we lower the corporate as well? And that is, to go back to my original point, why it is a tax cut and Jobs Act. And so, look, that's fine if we all pay lower taxes. I don't want to give the government any more of my own personal money, but the way small businesses and corporations are going to create growth and create jobs is by lowering the rate, making them competitive globally. Secondly, on your point on the deficit, I worry about the deficit too. Yeah. In the future, we are going to have to borrow almost every dollar that we spend from the Defense Department. And who are we borrowing from? The majority from the Chinese. That scares me. That concerns me. At the same time, really what is the white elephant in the room that's going to affect our deficit? It's healthcare explosion, the explosion of costs, and entitlement reform.
Which is
and that is the big elephant in the room.
100%. There's a very strong
for the 70%
case to be
non-discretionary
made that
budget.
When you look at all of the old footage of Paul Ryan from when he first got to the House, and it is miraculous. He looks like he's so young when he got there, and he's been wanting this his entire career. And you see a lot of articles that are saying that this is, with the acceptance of the increase in the deficit, this is just a cover for the entitlement reform that the Republicans have wanted. And programs like Social Security and Medicare are programs that are not, they're not a gift. We paid into them. We are owed that when we get to that age. And I believe that we should be allowed to reject our Social Security benefits and put that back into the pot if we are wealthy enough to take care of ourselves. I think that is the smart, voluntarily. Why? If I have enough money that I don't need my Social Security, I should be able to
donate that to private companies or private organizations can better do charity work for people who need some help in retirement than the federal government.
But that's because we see that differently. But you shouldn't have to take the money, or it should be something. It should be your choice to put it back into the
point is there's a lot of ways. The point is there's a lot of ways to reform it.
You can write a check to the Treasury Department anytime. So if you're getting a Social Security check you don't need every 2 weeks, you can write a check back to the Treasury Department at any point.
But they're sorry.
No. I just want to make. I don't think a lot of folks realize that 70% of our federal budget is untouchable. It's the non-discretionary portion that's what's ballooning our debt, and that is Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. And any lawmaker who steps up to try to fix it, reform it, and make it better just gets pilloried from both sides. And we need some political courage in our leadership
and
to step up and fix it.
The spending side of this too is a big question, and the White House and Congress, Republicans in Congress, are banking on the economic growth that they claim is going to come out of this. Now they're saying 3%. The president has said as much as 6-7%. We'll see where it flies. But
I want to jump in here and
$4 trillion coming in.
Bring our attention back to what's playing on the left of the screen. Okay. I love listening to you guys, though. I mean, this is great conversation, and I look forward to going into the new year with more of this, because that entitlements are something that there will be a fight over at the beginning of the year, right? Yeah. That's that third rail that nobody has wanted to step on. We know Paul Ryan has, and others have said that is a place where they want to go from the beginning of his career, Speaker Ryan, with entitlements. But I just want to draw everybody's attention back to what we're looking at, because the people at home have just tuned in. They're wondering, why in the heck are they re-voting in the House? And it's because they missed a couple things for the Senate side. So they got the Senate version fixed, sent back to the House. They're going to vote on that now. We have no reason to believe that it won't pass a second time. But they did do some debate, to which we all kind of laughed and said, well, y'all debated yesterday. Republicans can take several seats, let the Democrats say what they want, and then and it played out for the most part very quickly. And now, after that short debate, they are voting. And then what's next? The president is holding an event later at the People's House, the White House. And we got to hear a little bit of what I would call some juicier talking points for Republicans to take to the masses from the president today.
For sure. Look, I think, what needs to happen now is Republicans have got to sell this.
Why do they need to sell it if it's so great, though?
Because it's not.
Because
Jessica
has
Colonel
easy.
Waltz.
Sorry.
Jessica and folks like her have very easy talking points. That
well, the answer that the Speaker of the House has given to that is that there's been a lot of mistruths about the bill put out by the media, and therefore, when polled, people respond to those mistruths in the media. That's his response to that. But Democrats continue to rail on this, saying that it's gone through too fast, to the point where people really don't even know what's in it. Sound familiar?
Yeah, right.
Interesting that was sort of the narrative when Democrats were trying to push through Obamacare.
Yeah. I think it's easy to say benefit the rich, gonna hurt the poor. If you look at the Reagan tax cuts, they were equally kind of dubious in their popularity until people saw the benefit come through. And like I said, if they're sitting around their kitchen table and they're seeing more money in their pockets, less money to the government, friends and family getting hired, small businesses where they, in their communities that are growing, and month after month after month, their 401k and their retirement plan growing, we're in good shape.
All right, I want to bring our viewers along for the ride here because we're waiting for this re-vote happening in the House right now. We're voting on those changes that were made, the small minor changes that were made to the coming from the Senate. So the re-vote's happening right now. As you can see, the countdown clock there. There's only a couple minutes left in this vote. The bill passed in the House yesterday by 227 to 203. As I mentioned, 12 Republicans voted against that, like the Pete Kings from New York, from those high tax states. The Senate cleared the law in the wee hours of the morning, about 1:45 this morning, by a 51 to 48 vote. No votes, no yeses from Democrats. If this passes, which it is expected to in the next couple of minutes, that means it's off to the president's desk. Exactly when that happens, we do not know, but the president and the Republicans are expected to take a victory lap, as Harris just mentioned, at the White House a little bit later today. The president has called this an important day, an historic victory for the American people. As you can see, the countdown clock, just over a minute left. We'll watch this vote, but again, expected to pass, and it passed yesterday in the House, 227 to 203.
Yeah, so you heard the president talk about doubling the child tax credit, more take-home pay, as you mentioned, Colonel Waltz. The individual mandate is being repealed, which means Obamacare is being repealed. I fully expect, Katie, because you and I, we perked up when he said that, for that to have been the talking point that he was looking forward to. He said, I didn't want to talk about it much until this thing passed, but I think we'll hear that more and more. With what he projects to be his final cabinet meeting just moments ago, so you saw that live. It's been a very lively hour of Outnumbered here, a lot going on. So you saw him, though, wrap up talking about foreign policy, talking about the border wall. But just to step back for a second, this is a huge moment in history that we thought that we would have seen in the wee hours of the morning as the Senate was voting, but we knew that the re-vote was coming in the House. Once this comes, it's done. And then it goes to the president's desk. And you just take a beat here, because you haven't seen this sort of top-down tax bracket cutting since Ronald Reagan. You haven't seen this sort of look at the tax code in general since the 1980s. And so this is more than just what we like to colloquially call the big deal. This is history making in America, and really could set us up for some change moving ahead in an economy that's already cooking.
And it's important to point out that the Republicans are united on this. I mean,
for the most
looking
part.
at massive legislation like this without much drama happening on the House floor right now is important to note.
It really is. It's not only a huge legislative victory historically for the American people, but it is the first big legislative win for the president this year. He's had some battles with Mitch McConnell over the summer. He's been frustrated with the way that Obamacare was brought up for votes and failed to get to his desk as a full repeal. This is his big first thing as president. It reveals that one of his campaign promises has been met, and it allows him now to move on to bigger and better things. The White House has talked about going into an infrastructure package as early as January. DACA is now something that is being talked about as an immigration reform push that's going to come after the new year. So now that this is behind them, it's not over in the sense that they're still going to have to talk about the meat of the bill, how it's going to benefit the American people. However, this now, it's behind them. The president has a good legislative win, and the intensity from this will be rolled over into other projects.
Yeah, no, I think it is a little bit unfair to say that this is the president's first big legislative win. I mean, this is
he's had a lot of smaller
the narrative.
things, but I mean a big,
lot of important
legislative win.
This is I think as Harris was saying, this is a historic.
Right.
I mean, this is a massive win, but there have been a lot of things that he's not getting credit for. There's been important legislation for veterans that's shifting some of the VA over into the private sector.
Sure.
There's the National Defense Authorization Act. There was the National Security Strategy. There was the first authorization for NASA in 9 years. And now a new space policy where the Chinese and the Russians.
Yeah, I mean,
well, fair enough. But I mean, there's fair enough. But I mean, there's just this notion that he's got nothing done because of Obamacare.
But I didn't say nothing. I said his first big. The VA is very important.
Yeah.
He has had a lot of legislative victories. The House has passed, I think, 100 bills through this year, and they've gotten to the president's desk. However, when it comes to affecting every single American,
we're in violent agreement.
This is the big deal.
Right? Nothing matters to the average person more than a tax cut or the promise promise of one. So I think that in this way, this will be the selling point for the Republicans in the 2018 elections. And if people are seeing more money in their paycheck, if they are feeling that they've hired more, if they're seeing
and 2020
that happening,
and 2022.
well, exactly. But we're looking at 2018, and that is the first marker of what's going on here.
Right.
We know the generic ballot right now is favoring Democrats heavily. We know some of that is just the way history works. We know that some of that is issues with the popularity with the president and the party overall. This certainly helps them in their case, and Democrats are going to have to figure out how to message around that to say, okay, well, you may be seeing a bump in your paycheck, but blah, 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 blah. And that gets more and more difficult because it's the economy, stupid, in every single election, except, you know, maybe in Alabama. So Democrats are going to have to be very careful.
But when you're at 4% growth on the,
if
in
that's
the economy,
what happens there.
And I think that's, why I keep going back to both growth and tax cuts. It's both. And I think that together is going to be really powerful.
For the party that has been in power to hold on no matter what is going on in that way. So this might not even be as much of a referendum on the GOP platform, which, I mean, Democrats, we lost over 1,000 seats during the Obama era, which was a referendum certainly on how the policies were working. And we were just talking about this. Obama himself, hugely popular, policies not as much, or they don't sound as good when they're not coming out of his mouth.
Well, and the issue with the 2018 elections is going to be, too, the districts that went red for Trump, that were blue for Obama in 2012, are those districts going to hold for Trump? Because they voted for him based on solely economic issues. And coming in and saying, I'm going to bring your jobs back. We're not going to shut down your coal mines anymore. We're going to deregulate the country. And to your point of other big things happening, I think that the fact that the Trump administration has taken 22 federal regulations off the books for every one that is implemented is massive. It's huge. It's a dead weight that pulls on business. And that has been completely undercovered.
I just want to bring your attention to the screen now, because we're getting close to seeing this vote happen. A historic moment where it may be passing the House yet again after it passed in the House yesterday by a 227 to 203 vote. Look at that, the tally there, 222 to 192 at this moment, 222 yeses to 194 noes, tiny numbers there. The House is almost concluding this revote on the amended the Senate version of this bill that just got kicked back this morning. After this, if it passes, which it looks like it is about to, it is expected to, it goes to the president's desk. The Senate, remember, cleared the bill about 1:45 this morning in a 51 to 48 vote. And they are expected to take a victory lap this afternoon. Sarah Sanders saying the bill passage event will be happening in the 3 o'clock hour at the White House. She said this is not a signing event. Very important to make that distinction, as the bill will still need to be enrolled and that will happen at a later date, she said. We'll keep you posted on the details as they are confirmed. 224 to 199, building the suspense now.
I'll be interested to see if it's the exact same vote, if anybody switches their votes.
And to be clear,
feedback overnight.
To be clear, as far as the hurdle that they had to cross to have enough yes votes to pass this, they have met that. But I cannot tell you that it has indeed happened until that vote is closed. So that is what we are waiting on.
So that's what I'm interested to see. If it's clear that it's going to pass, this is going to happen. If anybody, particularly in Democratic districts that are up for grabs, if they flip over.
Well, there are 18, I think. To your point, Katie, I think there are 18 Republicans sitting in districts that went for Hillary Clinton. And those are our prime targets. So, the Darrell Ices of the world are watching
you had
their
Republicans in
the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. Obviously, you can see him there. So expect to hear from him as he's got the gavel in his hand. And there it is. The vote is closed, and the
oh my God, it's the end of the world.
All right. The apocalypse didn't happen, guys.
All right. So the House has passed this yet again in a revote, a slightly amended version coming from the Senate. Let's listen.
To suspend the rules and pass H.R. 1159 as amended, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. The clerk will report the title of the bill.
H.R. 1159, a bill to provide for continuing cooperation between the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the Israel Space Agency and for other purposes.
The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass...
All right, we're going to pause for one moment to let our Fox stations join us.
This is a 5-minute vote.
All right, thank you for joining us. This is Fox News coverage of the House vote on the revised Senate GOP tax bill. The bill has just passed the House. It passed the Senate early this morning, and now it's on to the president's desk. Let's bring in Fox News correspondent Peter Ducey, who is standing by. We have been closely watching this vote. It has now happened. It is concluded, and it has passed. Peter?
Sandra, we've been asking Republicans on their way in about this second vote in 2 days, the redo, take two for tax cuts, essentially, and they are all in very good spirits. They do not see the fact that they had to redo it because of some technicalities that were flagged by Democrats in the Senate as a bad thing. They don't think that it takes away from what they are considering a historic transformation of the tax code. Democrats, on the other hand, like Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Caucus Chairman Joe Crowley, are really hitting the Republican Party for not reaching out to Democrats in a meaningful way to try to come up with the provisions for this tax, but also they're saying the fact that they made a mistake that violated the Senate budget rules shows that they probably should not have had a vote on taxes in the first place. That's the Democratic perspective. We do expect to start seeing members. There's one so far, but they do all normally come on down here. And then a little bit later this afternoon, you can see that we've got buses already here in front of the United States Capitol complex. These are going to ferry lawmakers from the House and the Senate, Republicans only, over to the White House for a celebration with the president. We don't know yet when the president is going to sign the legislation and make it a law. There are some benefits to waiting until the new year that Republicans are looking at. They might be able to delay some cuts to Medicaid if they do that. But Republicans in very high spirits, Democrats not moving on to the next fight yet. They are still going after the party in power for this second vote that, again, they were not able to stop. Sandra.
All right, Peter Ducey, thank you very much. The House voting to pass the GOP tax bill, I should say the final bill, as this is the second time the House has voted on it. The president has called this an historic day, an important day for the American people. And this coming after the Senate passed this bill earlier this morning. It now goes to the president's desk. A big day indeed. Please stay tuned to Fox News Channel and this Fox station for continuing coverage of this big story. I'm Sandra Smith in New York. All right, well, there you have it.
Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow. But after an electrical fire from faulty wiring, Mary's vintage clothing and designer shoe collection were ruined. Luckily, the Geico Insurance Agency had recently helped Mary with renter's insurance, and she got a totally fab replacement wardrobe at Bloomingdale's. Mary was inspired to start her own fashion line, exclusively for little lambs. Visit geico.com and see how affordable renter's insurance can be.
If you're looking for the perfect holiday gift for someone special to you, give a gift that will be truly appreciated. The Omaha Steaks Deluxe Gift Package. It's filled with $224 worth of great food for just $59.99. That's 73% off only on this special holiday offer. The people on your nice list will receive 4 tender mouth-watering filet mignons, 4 extra thick boneless pork chops, 12 premium all-beef meatballs, and everyone's favorite, 4 classic juicy Omaha Steaks burgers, 4 chicken fried steaks, and 4 caramel apple tartlets. Your order will be delivered straight to your home or the destination of your choice, so you can give this wonderful gift to anybody on your holiday list. As a special holiday gift from us to you, if you order right now, we'll include 4 additional Omaha Steaks burgers free. That's 8 total. You get it all. Omaha Steaks Deluxe Gift Package, a $224 value for just $59.99. Give everyone a gift they can appreciate. Give them the Deluxe Gift Package from Omaha Steaks today.
I accept I don't conquer the mountain like I used to. I even accept I have a higher risk of stroke due to AFib, a type of irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. But whatever trail I take, I go for my best. So if there's something better than warfarin, I'll go for that too. Eliquis. Eliquis reduced the risk of stroke better than warfarin, plus had less major bleeding than warfarin. Eliquis had both.
Don't stop taking Eliquis unless your doctor tells you to, as stopping increases your risk of having a stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve or abnormal bleeding. While taking Eliquis, you may bruise more easily, and it may take longer than usual for any bleeding to stop. Seek immediate medical care for sudden signs of bleeding, like unusual bruising. Eliquis may increase your bleeding risk if you take certain medicines. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures.
I'm still going for my best, and for Eliquis.
Ask your doctor about Eliquis.
Vice President Pence, an exclusive interview. The historic tax vote, his first year in office, and the administration's fight for the future. Laura's exclusive tonight on the Ingram Angle.
America, are you tired of paying too much for the TV you love? At Dish, we hear you because we listen. So switch to Dish today and get the TV you love at a price you love. Choose Dish and get 190 top-rated channels for just $49.99 a month, guaranteed for 2 years. Plus, upgrade to the award-winning Hopper Smart DVR, complete with built-in apps and the freedom to watch TV anywhere. So what are you waiting for? Call the number on your screen to join the millions who have switched to Dish today. You'll get 190 top-rated channels for $49.99 a month, guaranteed for 2 years. And if you call today, you can get hands-free TV with a free Echo Dot. Alexa, show me family movies. Find your shows faster than ever. And control TV with the power of your voice with Dish, the first satellite TV provider to offer Amazon Alexa voice control. America, it's time to get the TV you deserve. Just call the number on your screen today, and you could be watching Dish tomorrow. That's 190 channels for $49.99 a month, guaranteed for 2 years. And for a limited time only, get an Amazon Echo Dot when you mention offer code FREE Echo Dot. Dish, tuned into you.
Fox News alert: Republicans set to celebrate after they just made history. Going outnumbered overtime now, I'm Harris Faulkner. Time for a victory lap, and you can bet it's coming soon. We know that the president will be meeting with GOP leaders to talk about this. He's having Republicans over to the People's House this afternoon to celebrate after passing landmark tax code, tax cuts, jobs creation just moments ago, as they are putting it. Handing President Trump his first big legislative win and fulfilling a key campaign promise. This is the president, and top Democrats are trading some jabs.
Congressmen and women in the Senate will be coming over, the Republican Senate. Unfortunately, the Democrats don't like to see tax cutting. They like to see tax increases, and they like to complain, but they don't get it done, unfortunately, but they complain a lot.
This tax bill will be an anchor around the ankles of every Republican. If they haven't learned it yet, they're going to learn it next November. Republicans will rue the day they pass this bill, and the American people will never let them forget it.
Senator John Thune chairs the Senate GOP conference, and we are glad to see him today. So I know the celebration is coming a little bit later, but I want to kind of back things up and find out how you got here. Certain people said it couldn't be done. You did it in record time. How did you do it?
Well, that's still a good question, Harris, but you know, nothing about this has been easy, but then nothing worthwhile ever is. It has been a very sort of bumpy ride leading up to here, but we were able to stay on schedule, which I think, given the way that Washington typically works, is pretty remarkable. And we're going to have a bill on the president's desk before Christmas, which will be a great Christmas present for the American people.
Yeah, you know, we're hearing some stories of certain people on Capitol Hill maybe meeting off-site to get things done. I mean, how tough was it, and what was your strategy going into this?
Well, I think at least in the Senate side, you know, it's very, very hard because with a narrow majority, every senator is a king or a queen and has a tremendous amount of leverage. And so we had to have a lot of meetings, small groups where everybody was able to participate, be engaged, have their voices heard in the process. And I think everybody in the end felt like they had ownership of the product. And when it came to the floor, it had input from virtually every Republican senator, and I think in the end, that's why we were able to get it across the finish line in the Senate, which, again, with a narrow majority is no easy feat.
You know, the president spoke from his cabinet meeting, which likely could be his final of 2017. We don't know for sure, but that's what he was suggesting, that it looks like it would be. And he was talking about this very differently, and so now I've kind of widened it out. I'm not just calling it tax reform. The president says that the language going forward should always be what that title is, and it is Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Talk to me about how you will sell this now to the American people.
Well, as you know, Harris, when we went into this, and the president went into this, the president was very clear from the beginning, and multiple meetings we had with him in the White House, that he wanted this to be about delivering meaningful tax relief to middle-income families. This bill does that. It also unleashes business in this country with lower rates and faster cost recovery to get the economy expanding and growing at a faster rate. When you get an expanding economy, you create those better-paying jobs, you get those wages back up. You know, the American people haven't had a pay increase in nearly a decade, and so it's long overdue for them to have more money in their pockets. And what this does is means their paychecks are going to be up, their taxes are going to be down. There is a very, I think, different view among the Democrats. The Democrats here in the Congress did not participate. They voted against this from the very beginning, and I think the reason for that is that they have a different view of the world, a view in which you send your money to Washington and Washington spends it for you. We want the American people to spend their own money.
We will see it Today is just the passage celebration, if you will. We'll see it go in for the president to sign in a few days. I understand that takes a little bit of time. But can you walk us through what's coming next? Because the big question that Americans have now is, when will they feel it?
Right. I think the answer to that, Harris, is the president will sign this sometime in the next week or 10 days. And then, of course, once it's enacted, then the agencies have to begin the work of getting the computers changed, and so the payroll deductions change and all that. But I think the American people who will get tax cuts will start to see that in their paychecks early next year, maybe not in January, but February, March timeframe, when all the paperwork gets done. But that's where I think people are going to start realizing these things that the Republicans said really are true. We are seeing bigger paychecks. We are seeing tax cuts for our families, and we're benefiting from the doubling of the standard deduction, the doubling of the child tax credit, and the lower rates that are included in this bill. So we think those benefits are going to start to be realized early next year. But, as is always the case around here, it takes a little while to get the machinery up and working to make these changes. But these are changes that are good for this country. This really should be a very exciting day and a win-win for the American people.
Speaking of that excitement, how do you now take this momentum into what will certainly be a battle over spending and the government and keeping the doors open, and that has to roll out, if not by the end of this week, then certainly in a couple of weeks in January?
Right. I think that, too, is the next major battle. And, of course, you don't get very long around here to enjoy, something when you get an accomplishment like this, although this is an accomplishment. Yeah, I know. Hopefully we'll be able to, the American people are going to benefit for a long time, but we've got to shift our focus now to the other challenges that we have in front of us. And that's already underway. There are meetings going on even now to talk about the end game and how we conclude the budget process for this year and deal with the other weighty issues that we'll have to deal with next year. I think the president's very interested next year in doing something on infrastructure. There's a lot of talk around here, interest in doing entitlement reform to make our entitlement programs more sustainable. There's a big agenda ahead of us, and we're going to have to turn around January 1 and get after it.
Yeah, entitlements, that's always been very, very tough. Nobody wants to talk about welfare reform and all of that. But we know for Republicans that was part of the platform. That was some of what the president talked about, too, on the trail. I thought it was interesting in his cabinet meeting today, he was enumerating those things that are important, some of what you're saying, but he spent a minute or so on the wall and immigration. What will we wake up to in 2018 that will be different that Republicans are pushing for?
I think what you'll see in 2018 is a fairly spirited debate about how to deal with the issue of immigration, making our borders more secure. Clearly there's an interest, there's a lot of sympathy in the country for these young people, so-called DACA children, who are now, many of them are grown up. But I think that debate will get underway. We have until March to deal with that issue. And if that's coupled with some stronger border security measures, there may be a way in which we could advance some major significant immigration legislation that would accomplish many of the things that we've been trying to do for a long time, and that is to make America's borders more secure and ensure that the people who are in this